Chapter 630. Her body turned into a beam of light and passed through countless stars like a meteor. Qin Yin could no longer see anything clearly. She could only hear the roars of beasts, the sound of fish swimming in the water, and the sound of eagles flapping their wings. After an unknown amount of time, a thick fog suddenly appeared in front of her. After passing through the fog, she saw countless animals roaring on the ground, and the beam of light that Qin Yin had turned into shot into the body of a green bird with a whoosh. Boom! Qin Yinzi Hai felt like it was about to explode. When she opened her eyes again, she was surrounded by darkness. She tried to use her palms to touch the space in front of her, but it seemed that she had lost her palms. What replaced them was a pair of tender wings. Her sharp beak involuntarily pecked at the hard shell in front of her. With a snap, a beam of light shone in. At this moment, she understood that she had already reincarnated into a bird. Coo, coo, outside the eggshell, a huge bird was right in front of her, looking at her with loving eyes. It was a cyan swan, a bird that was good at fighting in the air. An adult cyan swan could even kill a goshawk that was larger than itself. In the sky, apart from dragons, cyan swans were the overlords of birds. At this moment, a hissing sound came from not far away. It was a giant python with spots all over its body. It was a flower iron python, a highly poisonous python and one of the overlords of the jungle. Kiki, Mother Green Swan, screamed loudly, slapping hard with her wings and pecking hard at the flower iron python with her beak. However, the scales of the flower iron python were very thick, and it was a flower iron python that was more than 3,400 years old. It had become one of the spirit beasts, and Mother Green Swan had no cultivation at all. Obviously, she was no match for it. Hiss! The flower iron python abruptly bit Jianghu's mother's leg and dragged her with its body. Jianghu's mother screamed in agony, and her eyes were filled with love and pity when she looked at Jianghu before she died. Qin Yin whimpered. The last memory and consciousness disappeared with the death of Mother Green Swan. At this moment, she forgot who she was again. All she knew was that she was a bird. Hiss! The flower iron python swallowed Mother Green Swan in a few bites, then slithered its huge body closer. The little cyan swan struggled out of the eggshell, but there was nothing it could do. It could only look at the giant creature in horror. Whoosh! Arrows whistled through the air, piercing through the flower iron python's head. The big guy let out a muffled groan and slid down the tree, landing in front of a group of people. These people were all wearing military uniforms. Their uniforms were covered with armor, and their collars were adorned with shining golden stars. One of them got off his horse and kicked the flower iron python's body. He said with a smile, "Duke Wei's archery skills are truly one of the best in the world. To think that this 3,000-year-old spirit beast couldn't even withstand a single shot from you. Ha ha ha." The one riding on the warhorse was none other than Wei Chou. He put away his demon-devouring bow and said, "I didn't think that there would be such a venomous python in the bitter cold of Lingdong province. When we return to camp, tell the people in the spirit fire department to be careful not to be attacked by the python. This 3,000-year-old spirit beast python eats people." Yes. At this time, Situ-san looked up at the tree branch and said, "Duke Wei, there seems to be a nestling on the tree." "Oh. General Sen, go and take it down." "Okay, then you have to treat me to a drink." "Bah, I asked you to take a bird's nest, and you want a free meal. I really look down on you." Haha. Situ-san jumped onto the tree trunk, held the bird's nest, looked at the young green gourd, and said with a smile, "This is a newborn cyan swan. What should we do? Stew it tonight? It won't be enough." Situ Shui couldn't help but laugh and said, "Brother, that's enough. Quickly take down the cyan swan. This cyan swan is a rare bird. It flies fast and is aggressive. As long as it is trained well, not only can it serve as a messenger bird to deliver letters, but it can also be a bird of prey to intercept and kill messenger birds. Why, sister, do you want to raise it?" Situ-san jumped down and handed the bird's nest to Situ Shui. TSK TSK, look how cute it is. Situ Shui teased the little bird and said with a smile, Duke Wei, give this cyan swan to me. I want to raise it. Wei Chou waved his hand and said, General Shui, if you want to raise it, then raise it. Anyway, you have the final say. I can't stop you if you want to raise it. Anyway, since Commander Yu fell into a deep sleep in the bloody abyss, you and your sister have become lawless. Just don't raise a mammoth in the camp. Huh, look at what you said. Mammoths have a big appetite, we can't afford to feed them. Heh, let's go back. Today's hunt is over. It seems that there are no traces of the demon race within 50 miles of the steel wall. Qianfeng has decided to stay dormant. Well, that grandson, Humph, Wei Chou turned over and mounted the horse. He pulled the reins and turned back to look in the direction of the bloody abyss in the southwest. He couldn't help but sigh and said, I don't know when the Lord will wake up. If the Lord wakes up, we can launch a counterattack. Yeah, my star's secret art has been stagnant. No one can guide me. Although Wei Chou was already regarded as one of the famous generals in the world, he still didn't dare to underestimate the enemy and advance rashly. The 200,000 Longdan army camp equipped with excellent magic crystal cannons didn't dare to enter Tongtian province. The only reason was that he was afraid of the scheming Qianfeng and the demon emperor. In front of a real commander like Qianfeng, Wei Chou still lacked confidence. Otherwise, he would have attacked long ago. The weather in June was slightly sultry, but Longyan City was increasingly prosperous. Carriages of rare minerals and cloth were being transported into the city. The Zine Flower Merchant Association's flag was hung on the carriages, making them very eye-catching. Jin Xiaotang personally led a group of guards to the city gates to welcome them. This batch of resources was too important to the Zine Flower Merchant Association. Lin Muyu had been in a deep sleep for 4 years, so there was no one to provide the Zine Flower Merchant Association with top-notch weapons, medicines, and weapon embryos. As a result, Jin Xiaotang had to take on everything by herself. Xiaotang didn't cultivate martial arts. After 4 years, she had turned from a little girl who had just grown up into a charming lady from a wealthy family. She wore a fiery red pomegranate dress and looked slender and elegant. She was like a beautiful scenery outside Longyan City's southern gate. Just then, a group of cavalry galloped over from the main road in the south. The flag-bearer was holding a flag of Lingnan's Sunset City. They were the people from Lingnan. Jin Xiaotang frowned and said, Are there people from Lingnan again? I remember that His Highness Prince Xian had just left not long ago. A guard at the side said, Miss Xiaotang, Lingnan is half of the empire. It's normal for them to have close relations with Lingbei. But look, that person wearing a golden cloak seems to be a prince. It's General Feng who has come personally. Oh. Jin Xiaotang's eyes narrowed as she smiled and said, Then what are we waiting for? Let's go over and welcome him. If we serve His Highness Prince Xian well, the prices of Lingnan's rations and food will be reduced by at least 20%. Alright, we'll head over right away. The Zine Flower Merchant Association was a business that belonged to Lin Muyu, and Feng Jixing was naturally familiar with Jin Xiaotang. When Jin Xiaotang went up to welcome them, Feng Jixing couldn't help but smile. Oh, it's Miss Xiaotang. This commoner pays her respects to His Highness Prince Xian. There's no need to stand on ceremony. This time around, I've brought you a big surprise. Oh, what big surprise? Jin Xiaotang smiled and said, Could it be that it's 100 million caddies of Lingnan's premium rations? No, it's a living person. A living person? Jin Xiaotang was puzzled. Just then, a person galloped over from the back of the group and asked, Big Brother Feng, why has the group stopped? When he appeared before Jin Xiaotang in the white imperial forest armor, Jin Xiaotang was stunned. Tears gushed out from her eyes as she dashed forward and threw herself into Lin Muyu's embrace. The little girl was really strong, pouncing Lin Muyu off the battle horse. However, it was fortunate that he was a god. Streams of golden light appeared under his feet, allowing him to carry Jin Xiaotang and hover in midair. His cloak fluttered slowly, appearing extremely handsome. "Oh, which clan's young lady is this?" Lin Muyu smiled and asked. Jin Xiaotang waved her fists and hit his chest while crying, "Big brother, you've been gone for so long. Many people have said that you've died in Lingnan. I've gone to the Crimson Abyss to see you once, but I couldn't find you. Why are you only back now?" Lin Muyu also knew that Jin Xiaotang must have had a hard time holding on for the past 4 years. She lovingly stroked Jin Xiaotang's long hair and said, "Hey, aren't I back now? I have something to do, so I can't come back early. Don't blame me, Xiaotang." Don't blame me." Jin Xiaotang wiped away her tears and realized that she was being held by Lin Muyu by the waist. They were hovering in midair and she was instantly shocked. We're flying?" "Yes, is it that strange?" Lin Muyu smiled and slowly landed on the ground. Feng Jixing said, "Miss Xiaotang, you now, is a person with God's state cultivation, he's a genuine god." "Huh?" Jin Xiaotang couldn't help but blush. "Then I'm being hugged by a god, Lin Muyu." Feng Jixing, the spirit medicine division, was very quiet in the afternoon. A group of medicine refiners were busy in the medicine refinery hall, and some other staff members were sorting and storing the medicine that had been refined. Chu Yao was wearing the spirit medicine division's Grand Deacon's robe, and she was counting the number of boxes filled with medicine. These medicines were to be sent to the various armies of the empire, so she couldn't be careless. Whoosh! Suddenly, a burning sensation came from behind her. Chu Yao instinctively turned around and flipped her index finger. Suddenly, a beam of starlight fell from the sky and landed on the place she was pointing at. Buzz, a golden divine power barrier appeared, forcibly deflecting the star-seizing finger's power. It wasn't damaged in the slightest. After the golden light dissipated, a familiar figure appeared in front of Chu Yao. "Big sister Chu Yao." "You." Chu Yao's body trembled, and she couldn't speak. Lin Muyu walked up to her and hugged her tightly. Chapter 631. The next day, during the morning court assembly, the officials of Lanyan City gathered at Zetian Hall. The drumming outside the hall shook the heavens, as if telling everyone that a major event had happened in Zetian Hall, and this major event was naturally the return of Lin Muyu. If there was no Lin Muyu, it would not be considered the Three Kings ruling era. Zheng Yifan held the jade tablet in his hand. He was already old, but because of his profound cultivation, he did not appear slow. By the side, Zheng Fang respectfully followed his father up the gilded stone steps of Zetian Hall. Qin Yan stood outside the hall and greeted with cupped hands, saying, "Duke Zhong, you're here." "This old subject greets your highness Qin Yan." Zheng Yifan returned the greeting and asked, "The drumming in today's court assembly reverberated endlessly. I wonder what happened. Can your highness tell me a thing or two?" "Of course." Qin Yan smiled faintly. "My big brother is back." "What?" Zheng Yifan's entire body trembled, and he said in surprise, "Commander he's back?" Qin Yan nodded heavily and did not conceal his pride in the slightest as he said, "Big brother has returned with deity realm cultivation." "He, Duke Zhong, please come inside. Everyone is already waiting." "Yes." When Zheng Yifan and a few other old subjects walked into Zetian Hall, the officials in the court assembly were also almost all present. As one of the 4 dukes, Zheng Yifan was at the forefront of the court assembly. When he walked over, he saw the 2 princes, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing, currently whispering something in low voices. He went forward and said respectfully, "This old subject Zheng Yifan pays respect to your highness King Qin." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and raised her palm lightly, lifting up Zheng Yifan's arms like she was raising her hand. She said, "Divine Marquis need not be so courteous." "Oh, no. Duke Zhong need not be so courteous." Zheng Yifan said, "For your highness you to be able to return safe and sound, this is the fortune of the empire. This old subject is very gratified." Lin Muyu nodded, "Isn't it the fortune of the world that Duke Zhonghua is loyal to the country?" Facts had proven that even though Xing Yifan was often said to be a disloyal subject, Xing Yifan didn't do anything during the Battle of Zhonglin Valley. Unlike Tang Lan and Su Muyun, Xing Yifan only wanted to protect his reputation as a meritorious subject of Soaring Cloud's pavilion. If Qin Jin hadn't pressured him too much, Xing Yifan wouldn't have had any rebellious thoughts. What he wanted was not the world, but the good reputation of a loyal subject. Not long after, the female official, Shangguan Jingyue, appeared with a sword in her hand. It was the Desolation sword that Qin Yi had lost when he was fleeing from the sword pavilion. It was the sword of the late Emperor Qin Jin, and also the national treasure that symbolized the emperor's authority. Now that Qin Yin's heaven-suppressing sword had disappeared, the Desolation sword had once again become the symbol of the 9 cauldrons, the symbol of the world's divine weapons. Lin Muyu, the emperor of Qin, has returned. From now on, the 3 kings will rule the world together. Su'er placed her hand on the hilt of her sword and walked up to the throne. She said, "Servants, bestow Lin Muyu the emperor of Qin's imperial seal, the tiger tally, and the sword." 3 palace maids walked forward with a golden tray and respectfully knelt in front of Lin Muyu. And Lin Muyu also knew the rules. Seeing the Desolation sword was like seeing Qin Jin. She respectfully knelt in front of Su'er and raised her hand to receive the rewards one by one. First was the emperor of Qin's imperial seal. The imperial seal was stored in an extremely exquisite treasure box. When Su'er opened the lid of the box, she saw that there was a seal carved out of beautiful jade, and the sides were inlaid with gold. Su'er raised the jade seal and saw 4 large words and 4 small words engraved at the bottom: "Receive the mandate of the heavens, seal of the Emperor of Qin." This jade seal represented the greatest authority in the Qin Empire, and it was no different from the Emperor's seal. When Lin Muyu held the jade seal, he had mixed feelings in his heart. When the power of the world was at his fingertips, he would rather the person holding the jade seal was still Qin Yin, and he was just a commander protecting the empire. "Emperor of Qin, please receive the tiger tally," Su'er said respectfully. "And Xia." Lin Muyu looked at her, and Su'er's expression was also very complicated. After all, the world originally belonged to Qin Yin and the Qin family, but now it had become the rule of the 3 kings. To a certain extent, the world had already changed dynasties. After receiving the tiger tally and the sword, Lin Muyu stood up and put the sword seal into her universe sack. Then, she stood side by side with Feng Jixing and Qin Yan on the seat of honor at the front of the Great Hall. Su'er quickly walked down the stairs and stood behind Xianghu. She was only one of the 5 marquises, and in terms of status, she was inferior to Xianghu, Luo Xian, and Zhen Yifan. There was also Duke Wei Chou, but Wei Chou was far away in Lingdong province and could not participate in the morning court. "Congratulations on your highness's return to the throne." The officials all knelt down and shouted, "Long live your highness." Lin Muyu did not feel good about it and stood rooted to the ground. Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows and said, "Since your highness has returned and the 3 kings are here, we can discuss any unresolved matters in the imperial capital." Firefinch Abbot Shao Han immediately stepped out and cupped his fists. "Your Highness, I have already found out that the culprit who forced the 7 Sea King Tang Lan to death in Hundred Ridge City was Lingnan Province's #1 Heavenly Book aristocrat, Northern Qi. I ask that your Highness immediately give the order to remove Northern Qi's eagle from his position as governor and wipe them out in one fell swoop." "No need." Lin Muyu waved her hand. "I just left Hundred Ridge City a few days ago. Northern Qi's eagle and Northern Qi's Jew have already been executed by me." "Ah." Shao Han was stunned. "Your Highness, why did you kill them? Could it be that you already knew they were the masterminds behind Tang Lan's death?" "No, I only killed them because Northern Qi killed the innocent." "Yes." Qin Yan smiled at the side. "Big brother, I heard that you killed the Empire's #1 enemy, Luo Lan, in the blood-red abyss?" "Yes," Lin Muyu nodded. "Luo Lan wanted to find trouble, so I took care of him along with his disciples." "That's good." Qin Yan clapped his hands and said with a smile, "In this case, the Empire's only mortal enemy is the demon race. As long as we exterminate the demon race, we can complete the great cause of unification. Yes. At this time, Jin Yifan said, Your Highness, King Qin, has just returned to Lanyan City. I wonder what your plans are. I suggest that you use this free time to reorganize the Holy Temple, Spiritual Medicine Department, and Heavenly Book Library. After Her Highness Yin ascended, the three departments have been in a mess. Only Your Highness has the ability to reorganize them. No, I still have other things to do. Lin Muyu looked at Jin Yifan and said, Yan and you, Divine Marquis, are enough to reorganize the three departments. I'm going to the east. East? Su Yu was stunned. You, what are you going to the east for? Lin Muyu could not help smiling. Could it be that Aunt Lien has forgotten that the Longdan Army Camp is my home? I'm naturally returning to the Longdan Army Camp in Winter Frost City. Moreover, annihilating the demon race also requires my strength, isn't it? The three kings rule the world. Yen guards the north, Big Brother Feng guards the south, then I'll guard the east and deal with the demon race. There's no need to discuss anymore. I've made up my mind. Yes. Su Yu and Jin Yifan saluted at the same time. Actually, everyone was very clear in their hearts that two tigers could not live on the same mountain. Although it was the three kings rule the world, if Lin Muyu stayed in the imperial capital, who would have the final say between him and Qin Yan? If that was the case, it would be better to go to Lingdong province. Moreover, Lingdong province's strategic location was too important. If the demon race wanted to send their troops, they would have to pass through Winter Frost City. There was no better candidate than Lin Muyu, who had stepped into the divine realm, to guard Lingdong province. However, Feng Jixing did not say it directly. He did not want Lin Muyu to go to Lingdong province. After all, guarding Lingdong province would mean that she would have to fight to the death with the demon race. Moreover, Lingdong province's land was barren. It was the poorest province among the 12 provinces of the empire. The entire province's economic income was not even 1/10 of Lanyan city's. It was obvious how poor it was. You have to think it through. Yes, I have. Lin Muyu turned to look at Feng Jixing and said, But Big Brother Feng, you can't be idle in Lingdong. Lingdong is a land of fish and rice. You must send a large amount of resources to Winter Frost City every month. In addition, all the major provinces of the empire should transfer an appropriate amount of people to live in Lingdong. Rebuild Lingdong province and make this province rich. Of course. In addition, Lin Muyu looked at the court officials and said, Where is Xiling? At the end of the court officials, Qin Xiling walked out with a jade tablet in his hand and said, Your subject is here. Lin Muyu smiled slightly and said, Xiling, pick some people from the Department of Armaments to go with me to Lingdong. We will smelt iron and forge magic crystal cannons in Winter Frost City. Otherwise, it will be too inconvenient to transport magic crystal cannons from Lanyan City to Winter Frost City. Moreover, Lingdong province is backward and barren. We will need you to bring advanced iron smelting technology. Yes, your subordinate will obey. Qin Xiling was secretly delighted. It was his life's wish to serve Lin Muyu. Although the imperial capital was in Lanyan City, Lin Muyu was the king of Qin, the head of the three kings. If he followed the king of Qin, his status would not be inferior to the court officials in Zhe Tian Palace. In fact, he might even be superior. Whether it was official or personal, following Lin Muyu was definitely the right choice. Then, get ready. We will leave early tomorrow morning. Yes. Feng Jixing said, I will transfer 5,000 elite soldiers from the Holy Temple and the Imperial Army to escort you and Xiling. Yes, thank you, Brother Feng. Tonight, I will stay at the Imperial residence in the north of the city. Okay, we will go as well to see you off. Okay. In the blink of an eye, it was night. Lin Muyu stayed in Lanyan City for a day and was about to leave. He could not let himself be idle. He had to wander around and try his best to find the whereabouts of Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. In the east, at least, Tang Xiaoxi was there. At night, in the imperial residence in the north of the city, Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, Su Yu, Chu Yao, Jin Xiaotang, and the others gathered together and drank to their heart's content for Lin Muyu's farewell. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Feng Jixing stood up, patted Lin Muyu's shoulder, and said, Since we are leaving tomorrow, then, let's spar. Let Brother Feng witness the power of a god. Oh. Lin Muyu looked at him with a smile. Brother Feng really wants to see the power of a god? Yes. By the side, Su Yu and Qin Yan also said excitedly, right. Brother Feng has already reached the pinnacle of the holy heaven realm and can step into the god realm at any time. It's just right for us to broaden our horizons. Chu Yao smiled and said, we can spar, but fists and feet have no eyes. You must be careful and stop when you go too far. Don't worry. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing said in unison. Chapter 632. Biayuan hunting ground was the largest open space in the temporary imperial residence. It was about 5 miles in circumference, and there were some cloud deer, wild rabbits, chamois, and other small animals kept there for the new talents and old officials of Lanyan City to hunt. But now, it was the best place for Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing to learn from each other. These two guys were not to be trifled with, and their destructive power was extraordinarily strong. Everyone, stay away. Feng Jixing said with some fear. He knew Lin Muyu's strength too well. When he was in the Holy King realm, he could challenge an expert at the first heaven of the divine realm with his twin martial souls and star arts. Now that he had also stepped into the divine realm, one could imagine how terrifying his strength was. Su Yu, Chu Yao, Qin Yan, and the others were all masters, and Su Yu, the weakest among them, was already at the second heaven of the heaven realm. But because of Feng Jixing's words, all of them retreated far away, and watched the two peerless masters fight from about a mile away. The night breeze blew, blowing Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu's cloaks. Now, Lin Muyu had also changed into a golden cloak embroidered with purple flowers, which was the symbol of royal power. She still had to take into account her status. Although Lin Muyu was undisciplined by nature, she had long learned the difference between different ranks in this chaotic world. Obeying the rules would save her a lot of unnecessary trouble. Okay. Lin Muyu smiled slightly, clenched her fists, and said, I am in the divine realm, and Brother Feng is in the holy realm. It is not fair to begin with. I will let Brother Feng make 3 moves first. Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows and smiled. Brat, are you really not going to draw your sword? There's no need. Lin Muyu laughed arrogantly. Brat, you're too arrogant. Be careful. Feng Jixing let out a low roar, and a thick king's battle flame rose from his body. A Saint Heaven stage aura descended from the sky and crushed everything in the surroundings. Plants and rocks were instantly crushed into powder. However, under the destructive Saint Heaven stage aura, Lin Muyu was like a fish that had escaped the net. She was calm and relaxed, and the sovereign matrix in her EC released strands of golden divine power, which completely destroyed the Saint Heaven stage aura. He's here. Feng Jixing suddenly crushed the rock under his feet. Becoming one with the blade, he attacked like lightning. The roar of the purple electric flame wolf soared into the sky. He lifted the wind cutter blade and fiercely struck. Suddenly, a storm of fire and lightning tore the earth apart and rushed towards Lin Muyu. The storm was at least 100 meters tall, and its momentum was terrifying. Su Yu, Chu Yao, and the others were all dumbfounded. The group of guards on duty was so shocked that they retreated, afraid that they would be affected by this apocalyptic power. As the storm of fire and lightning approached, Lin Muyu's expression was abnormally calm. She suddenly raised her right palm and slashed at the storm. Bang! Lin Muyu's palm slashed the storm in half like a sharp blade. The storm that contained the power of the Saint Heaven stage was like a stream meeting a boulder, and Lin Muyu's cloak fluttered in the wind. Rays of golden light flashed around her. She didn't even use the dragon blood battle shield or the wall of the gourd to block Feng Jixing's attack. Brat, Feng Jixing was stunned. The seventh form of the windwalking saber arts was his famous technique, but he couldn't even touch a hair on Lin Muyu's body. This was a huge blow to him. He quickly took a deep breath to calm himself down. Wind blades whistled around the wind-cutting saber in his hand, and he leaped into the air. This time, he attacked from the sky. The eighth form of the windwalking saber arts, heaven-hating Dao. In an instant, Lin Muyu felt like she was in a burning abyss. The power of Feng Jixing's heaven-hating Dao after reaching the Saint Heaven stage was completely different from before. When Lin Muyu raised her head, she felt like thousands of wind-cutting sabers were slashing down from the sky. She didn't know how to defend at all. However, Lin Muyu had the strongest defensive martial soul in the world. Instead of retreating, she leaped into the air and took out the 7 luminary celestial gourd. With a buzz, a dazzling golden light lit up the night, and a round gourd wrapped around Lin Muyu's body. This was the perfect defense. Clang, 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 sparks flew as the blades slashed down on the gourd. When all the wind-cutting sabers had been slashed down, the last one, the real wind-cutting saber, descended from the sky. Bang! The power of the Saint Heaven stage collided with Lin Muyu's sovereign god power. The gourd's wall finally couldn't withstand such a concentrated attack and collapsed. However, the rebound from the sovereign god power also forced Feng Jixing back. His blood flow was a little chaotic, and he retreated dozens of meters with his saber. He couldn't help but feel his battle intent rise. What a perfect defense, brat. When they first met in the dragon-seeking forest, Lin Muyu couldn't even fight back against Feng Jixing. Now that the tables had turned, Feng Jixing actually felt very helpless. After breaking through Lin Muyu's defense, he had used up all the power in his saber, but Lin Muyu still had some energy left. If Lin Muyu had attacked just then, she would have had a high chance of killing him. In fact, the outcome of the battle had already been decided. But Feng Jixing knew that a true expert had to be trained through battles. To be able to have a peerless expert like Lin Muyu as an opponent was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Face and whatnot were secondary. Becoming stronger was the most important. Again. Feng Jixing let out a low roar. The purple electric flame wolf martial soul roared unceasingly, once again raising his strength to the pinnacle. Immediately, the windcutter's saber let out a wang 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 sound. Rays of purple wind blades continuously flew and cut the air, actually making pa 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 sounds. These wind blades seemed to have broken through the limits of space, and could launch an attack from beyond space. Lin Muyu was stunned. This attack wasn't simple. He started to use the sovereign god power, and he immediately entered his god form. His eyes turned golden, and his body seemed to be plated with a faint golden light. Using his golden eyes, he saw that the laws of the four-dimensional space were being broken through by Feng Jixing's wind blades. This made Lin Muyu think of a term, dimensional wind. That's right, these were wind blades that had broken through the dimension. Feng Jixing's attack had probably far surpassed the power of a Saint Heaven realm cultivator. No wonder this guy wanted to spar with her. He had actually cultivated such a powerful saber technique. This is the 9th technique of the windcutter saber technique. I named it the demon god slash. You have to be careful. Feng Jixing said cautiously. He was also afraid that his saber would hurt Lin Muyu. After all, it was fine for brothers to spar, but it wouldn't be good if they got hurt. Don't worry, come. Lin Muyu smiled. Okay. Feng Jixing bellowed, and he rushed over like lightning. However, when he was less than 10 meters away from Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing's figure suddenly disappeared. Lin Muyu was stunned. She took a closer look with her golden eyes and realized that Feng Jixing didn't vanish. Instead, he broke through the limits of his speed. His silhouette was so fast that it was almost impossible for a mortal's eyes to capture it. In an instant, tens of Feng Jixing's silhouettes attacked from all directions. The dimensional wind blades flew towards Lin Muyu's body. No, even the dragon blood shield might not be able to block this attack. If he couldn't block it, it would mean that he would be injured. Lin Muyu decisively used his supreme divine power and jumped into the spatial crack. The power of breaking through the void made it seem as if he had disappeared on the spot. Bang! The ground where Lin Muyu was originally standing became a deep pit. The crisscrossing saber light cut out countless small spatial cracks. The fact that Feng Jixing could cultivate such a technique was enough to prove how outstanding his martial arts talent was. Where is he? Feng Jixing raised his saber and took a few steps forward. His face was ashen. It's my turn. Lin Muyu's voice came from behind him. A beam of golden starlight shot up into the sky. It was the initial starlight. The starlight that Lin Muyu shot out with her bare hands was as terrifying as the initial starlight. Feng Jixing quickly turned around and raised his saber horizontally. With a deep growl, the 7th level of the diamond body defense instantly condensed around his body. Bang! A world-shaking strike. Under Lin Muyu's punch, Feng Jixing and his horse were pushed back nearly 100 meters. The soil and grasses on the ground splashed and danced in the air. This simple punch seemed to be able to destroy the world. Again. Feng Jixing's blood and qi surged inside his body, and his mind was a bit messed up. Instead of defending, he raised his saber and attacked. His left hand was holding a dimensional wind blade, and his right hand was preparing for the second, divine demon cut. With a deep growl, he attacked like a lightning bolt. His movement speed was too fast. It was as if the profound meaning of the wind element had reached perfection. Lin Muyu's heart sank. She raised her palm and used the 3rd move of the star scripture, 5 mountains descending from the sky. Bang! Dust flew everywhere. The golden divine power, flame, and lightning mixed together and shot up into the sky. The entire ground was shaking. Even the walls of the palace in the distance had begun to crack. Good heavens, Chu Yao's pretty face was a bit pale. Don't tell me that you and Brother Feng are going to tear down this palace? No, this is only the beginning. So you looked into the distance. A purple sun was reflected in her beautiful eyes. Lin Muyu slowly flew up from the ground. Divine power and ancient characters were faintly discernible around her. She raised her right hand, and a purple flame appeared in her palm. It grew bigger and bigger, and its power became more and more terrifying. It was the 6th move of the star scripture, Purple Sun Shakes the Earth. It was easy to imagine how terrifying the purple sun shakes the earth was when it was infused with supreme divine power. When the purple sun had condensed to a radius of 1 meter, Feng Jixing suddenly sheathed his saber and shouted, "Ayu, stop fighting." Why not? I don't want to die yet. Feng Jixing laughed. Lin Muyu also laughed. She waved her hand, and the power of the star scripture turned into spirit energy in the wind. The purple sun also disappeared. He floated down and landed on the ground. He said, if Brother Feng steps into the god realm, he will definitely be a very powerful god. Really? Feng Jixing laughed, I'll be counting on your auspicious words. At this time, Chu Yao, Su Yu, Qin Yan, and the others also walked over. Feng Jixing said, the ancient records say that when mortals ascend to immortality, the godhood they form is divided into 5 levels. The 5th is the mortal godhood, the 4th is the heavenly Dao godhood, the 3rd is the immortal godhood, the 2nd is the master godhood, and the 1st is the supreme godhood. Her Highness Yin's godhood was the 1 in 10,000 master godhood. Which level is Yu's godhood? Lin Muyu shook her head, I don't know, you can easily kill Luolan, so it shouldn't be a mortal godhood. I'm not too sure either. When I was in the blood-red abyss, my godhood suddenly awakened. Although killing Luolan was easy, I fell into a deep sleep for 4 years. When I woke up, I even lost my memory and forgot everything. It wasn't until the 2nd godhood awakening that I remembered everything. Forgot everything? Feng Jixing was startled, and said in shock, could it be? Could it be that you formed the supreme godhood? Heavens, this is the supreme godhood that is 1 in 100 million. How would I know? Let's continue drinking. I don't know when we'll meet again. And, let's go. Chapter 633. The Divine Realm. Lin Muyu held the silver noble that was provided by the military with both hands, nodded and said, after stepping into the Divine Realm, a divine spark will be formed in the Yi Hai. This divine spark is the crystallization of a lifetime's cultivation. The Yi Hai will give birth to an endless stream of divine power and soul power. Coupled with the power provided by the martial soul, one's strength will undergo a rebirth. Secondly, after stepping into the Divine Realm, one's understanding of the plane's power will naturally break through and enter a new realm, that is shattering the void, the law of four-dimensional power. Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, and Suyu listened with burning gazes. Feng Jixing said, and then? And then, it's like this. Lin Muyu sat up straight. Suddenly, the cloak around her fluttered without wind. A layer of gold quickly covered her eyes. The golden eyes looked at everyone and said, the eyes of a god are completely different from mortals. They can see through the invisible power of space, so I can see through Big Brother Feng's dimensional wind blades. In addition, my night vision and discernment abilities will also be greatly improved, making it easier to find opponents and hunt them down. Suyu could not help sucking in a breath and said, use eyes. I'm really not used to it. You, in your eyes, is the current Aunt Rose still the same as before? Lin Muyu smiled, yeah, Aunt Rose is still as charming and amorous as before. Suyu's face turned red, brat, you actually dare to make fun of your elders. Qin Yan at the side said, my cultivation realm has only just stepped into the holy region, and among the few of us, General Feng's cultivation realm is the highest, the peak of holy heaven realm. Big brother, when do you think Big Brother Feng will step into the divine realm? Well, Lin Muyu looked up at the sky outside the tent. His eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. He could faintly sense the existence of the heaven realm and the pulse of the god's divine power in the heaven realm. It was so tyrannical and endless. He took a deep breath and said, just like what Big Brother Feng said, gods are also divided into 3, 6, and 9 ranks. Among them, the status is determined by the divine spark. I don't know why I formed a sovereign spark, but Xiao Yin's divine spark is the divine spark. So Big Brother Feng, don't be in a hurry to break through the divine realm. If you break through, just forming a mortal spark will greatly affect your future cultivation. Feng Jixing stared in shock, then what should I do? Let's wait a little longer. I'll try my best to contact the 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor in the Heaven Realm and see if he can find me a forged immortal horoscope or a heavenly Dao horoscope. After refining the God horoscope, you'll be able to form a stronger God horoscope. Anyway, even if you manage to form the mortal horoscope, your strength will only be on par with Luolan. You'll be defeated within 10 moves if you encounter someone with the same cultivation as you. Alright, I won't break through for now. Feng Jixing raised his wine cup and drank it in one gulp as he said, my diamond body protection, hasn't progressed after reaching the 7th heavenly stage. Why is that? Lin Muyu thought for a moment before smiling, it's very simple. The 8th heavenly stage of the diamond body protection is the divine power protection. Presumably, only someone with divine power can cultivate this skill. Once you step into the divine realm and become a god, you'll definitely be able to do it. Then I don't have to worry. Lin Muyu nodded and looked deeply at Feng Jixing. Big Brother Feng, it's been hard on you these past 4 years. You've been busy dealing with complicated government affairs and didn't have much time to cultivate. Otherwise, with your talent, you might have already stepped into the divine realm. Next, hand over the government affairs to Luo Yu, Xiahou Sang, and the others and focus on cultivating. Look, I've been searching for Xiao Yin's divine spark in the blood abyss for 4 years, which is equivalent to cultivating for 4 years. My mental state has long reached the great accomplishment stage, so Xiao Yin's 4 blades helped me step into the divine realm. The 5th blade helped me break through the divine realm and step into the divine realm. I understand. Feng Jixing rubbed his nose and said bitterly, you really don't know how expensive rice is until you're in charge. You, on the other hand, slept and cultivated for 4 years. If I didn't manage the Qin Empire, it would have been torn apart long ago. Do you think I don't want to focus on cultivation? I also want to ascend to the heavenly realm and chase a goddess as my wife. Lin Muyu was speechless. She smiled and said, to chase a goddess as your wife, you need to be strong enough. Big brother Feng, don't be in a hurry to ascend. Wait until I find a powerful divine spark for you. Otherwise, if you form a mortal divine spark and ascend to the heavenly realm, your strength will at most be low. There are so many goddesses in the heavenly realm, they might not like you. After all, strength is what matters in the heavenly realm. Suyu smiled and said, is it appropriate for the two of you to talk about chasing a goddess? Don't forget, the devil race hasn't been destroyed yet. If we don't destroy the devil race and unify the Qin Empire, are you willing to ascend to the heavenly realm? Anyway, I won't ascend before I find Xiao Yin. Lin Muyu said with certainty. His expression became solemn. Feng Jixing patted his shoulder and said, good brother, Xiao Yin is blessed by God just like you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have skipped the Saint Heaven realm and directly stepped into the God realm. She has the divine spark and will definitely live forever. Don't worry. I'm leaving Lanyan City tomorrow. What about you, big brother Feng? Return to Lingnan Sunset City and continue to guard Lingnan and pacify the people. Don't forget, you killed the governor of Lingnan province that I appointed. I have to help you clean up this mess, don't you? Lin Muyu suddenly looked disgusted and said, don't talk about it. The Northern Chi Eagle is not a good person. He used the Tianshu family to bully the poor people. Such a person should have been killed a long time ago. You actually appointed him as the governor of a province. Do you think I want to? After the Battle of Xiangyang City, there is no one who can speak in the whole of Lingnan. Talents are needed everywhere. I am already at my limit dealing with the Swift White Province, Lingtian Province, and Mingshan Province. If it weren't for the Northern Qi Prefecture guarding Lingnan Province, I'm afraid that refugees would have already run everywhere. The consequences would be even more unimaginable. Alright, I can't win against you in an argument. Let's continue drinking. We won't go home until we're drunk. Alright, let's drink. The next day, in the mist of the early morning, the 5,000 metal cavalry under Lin Muyu's command, as well as the nearly 500 technical staff and craftsmen that Qin Xiling had transferred from the Bureau of Weapons of the Ministry of Works, set off one after another. They did not bring much rations, only dry rations. They traveled quickly on horseback. All food and supplies could be taken care of at the towns along the way. Feng Jixing, Suyu, Qin Yan, and the others watched Lin Muyu leave. Each of their faces carried a gratified smile. Lin Muyu's return as a god had undoubtedly given the Qin Empire, which had been swaying in the wind and rain for 4 years, a pill of reassurance. The rule of the three princes had always been controversial. Just because the name was not legitimate and his words were not justified, the various feudal vassals frequently rose in rebellion, causing the various provincial armies to be exhausted in suppressing them. These 4 years seemed peaceful, but it was still 4 years of war and chaos that the people had to endure. Now that Lin Muyu had returned and the Empress's sworn brother was in power, those who had always had rebellious thoughts would definitely be deterred. Furthermore, Lin Muyu possessed god-level powers. Regardless of whether it was her popularity or her strength, they had already reached the peak for a period of time. 5 days later, the troops passed by Wugu City, the capital of Tsangnan Province. Su Jiantao came out of the city to welcome them, and when he saw that Lin Muyu was not dead, he cried tears of joy. 9 days later, they arrived at the steel protective wall. 14 days later, they entered the border of Lingdong Province. When Lin Muyu, who was riding on Takshu, appeared on the hillside at the border of Lingdong Province, she saw a group of cavalrymen galloping over from afar. Dust filled the sky, and they were holding the battle flag of the Longdan army camp. The people from the Longdan army camp had arrived. Sensing with her supreme power, Lin Muyu smiled cheerfully. Wei Chou, Situ Sen, and Situ Shui were all here. Presumably, Fengxi and Baiyin had been left behind in Winter Frost City to oversee the camp. She dismounted, leaped into the sky, and flew straight to a group of subordinates. When Lin Muyu landed, Wei Chou and Situsen each came to her left and right for a bear hug. Your Excellency, Your Excellency. Wei Chou's eyes were filled with tears, but he still addressed Lin Muyu as before, and said in a trembling voice, Wei Chou thought that you would never come back. Situsen did not cry, but he did not speak either, for fear that he would cry if he did. Lin Muyu was very touched. Although she and these people were superiors and subordinates, they were better than close friends. There was no other person in the imperial army who could treat each other with such sincerity. On the side, Situ Shue's beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she silently looked at Lin Muyu. General Shue, don't cry. Lin Muyu looked at her and said with a smile, if you cry, I'm afraid that I won't be able to control myself. Situ Shue did not know whether to laugh or cry. Your Excellency. You teased me as soon as you came back. Lin Muyu laughed and took a step back. She looked at the people and said, how are you all? The three of them knelt on one knee and saluted, Your Highness, we are all well. That's good. Get up. Lin Muyu pointed behind her and said, I've brought Qin Xiling and a group of skilled craftsmen from the Ministry of Works back. They will all be stationed in Winterfrost City. From now on, Winterfrost City will be the home of our Longdan army camp. Yes, Your Highness. The group's faces were full of joy. Situsen said, Your Highness, Lingdong province is a desolate place where even birds don't shit, and there are not many people in Winterfrost City. To tell you the truth, there are less than 4 million people living in Lingdong province, which is less than the population of Lanyan City. Our Longdan army camp being stationed in Winterfrost City is like being sent to the frontier. If we live here for a long time, I'm afraid that our brothers will complain. Don't worry. Lin Muyu mounted the horse and said with a smile, I've already talked to Brother Feng and Yen. All the provinces will transfer and migrate people to Lingdong province. We just need to cultivate more wasteland. Although Lingdong province is cold, it will be suitable for planting for 4 to 5 months. Besides, Wei Chou is now Duke Wei, and Lingdong province is his fief. We can't let it be barren all the time. Yes, Your Highness. Wei Chou said gratefully, Thank you, Your Highness. My fief is also Your Highness's. Don't mention it. How many days is it from here to Winterfrost City? 3 days. Hurry up. I want to reach Winterfrost City as soon as possible. Lin Muyu's starry eyes looked to the northeast, where the Tongtian Gorge was. It was rumored that Tang Xiaoxi was trapped in the Tongtian Gorge. Chapter 634. 3 days later, Winterfrost City. The city, which was built with black brick walls, no longer looked lifeless. The flags of the Dragon's Courage Legion and the Empire fluttered above the city. When Lin Muyu appeared in front of the city wearing a golden cloak, countless soldiers on the city wall raised their weapons and cheered loudly. The war drums were beating, and they celebrated in unison. Lin Muyu's return was like a new life for the Longdan army camp. Ga, amidst the sound of iron chains twisting, the iron gate slowly rose. Wei Chou smiled respectfully and said, Your Highness, please enter the city. The brothers in the city have already prepared a sumptuous banquet. All right. At the mention of food, Lin Muyu's 5 Viscera temple was instantly filled with joy. He even began to doubt if he was a real god. Logically speaking, a supreme existence like a god would be able to absorb the rain and dew from the heavens and earth. However, he felt so hungry every day that he skipped a meal. This was something that he found hard to talk about. Lin Muyu raised his iron fist, and immediately gathered his divine power. A golden light enshrouded his fist, and he maintained this posture as he slowly rode his horse into the city. Instantly, the soldiers inside and outside the city became even more frenzied. Lin Muyu was originally a godlike existence in their hearts, but now, Lin Muyu was a real god. He was the faith of the 200,000 soldiers in the Longdan army camp. An army needed such fanaticism, and Lin Muyu firmly believed that. Otherwise, the morale of the army would fall apart. After entering the city, Fengxi and Bai Yin came forward and knelt together. "Greetings, Your Highness." "Get up." Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "Let's go. Bring me to the banquet." "Yes." They slowly marched on the main road of Winter Frost City. Outside the residences on both sides of the road, there were many civilians of the empire. They all looked at Lin Muyu with doubtful or expectant expressions. Many of them knew that Lin Muyu's arrival would bring vitality to this land. Many of the civilians in the city had been enslaved by the demon race, and they knew that this handsome young prince was Lin Muyu, who destroyed the Thunder Rush Legion in the Demon Fall Valley. Naturally, they regarded Lin Muyu as the god of the Lingdong province. At the side, Wei Chou said, "Winter Frost City has been hit by war time and time again. Now, there are less than 200,000 people, which is similar to the military strength of the Longdan army camp. Therefore, most of our clothes and food are transported from Cangnan province and Lingnan province. However, this is not a long-term solution. Winter Frost City is still relatively spacious. It should not be a problem for it to accommodate 1 million people. Don't worry, the population will rise." Lin Muyu smiled. "You have to have confidence in me." Wei Chou laughed. "Of course." At this time, they had arrived in front of the city lord's mansion. The city lord's mansion had also been ravaged by war, and the walls were covered with marks of swords and axes. As the first town to resist the invasion of the demonic race, Winterfrost City was like an abandoned child to the empire. Now, Lin Muyu was here to avenge the humiliation of humanity. Situ Shui looked up at the mayor's residence and said, "This residence has been in decline for a long time. The decorations and layout inside are not good enough to be King Qin's residence. It is even shabby to be Duke Wei's residence. Milord, should we renovate this future King Qin's residence? There is no rush." Lin Muyu waved her hand and said, "Let's talk about it when we have money." "Yes, I understand." As expected, a banquet had already been set up in the mansion. Although the mansion was rather simple and crude, the level of the banquet was not low. There were all kinds of meat from birds and beasts. With Wei Qiu, a natural-born hunter in the Bile Dragon camp, it would be very convenient for him to eat wild animals. Everyone sat down. With Lin Muyu's arrival, everyone felt at home. Situ Sen, Situ Shui, and Fengxi were all people whose parents were not around. The Longdan army camp was almost their home. They felt a sense of belonging. "Your Highness, please enjoy your meal." A beautiful maid carried a tray with 3 golden cauldrons and golden cutlery. This was the treatment of a noble. Lin Muyu took a look. The 3 golden cauldrons contained cloud deer meat, snake meat stew, and boiled fish. There was not a single vegetable in them. They were very practical and pleasing to the eye. He couldn't help but smile and said, "I didn't expect that the standard of food in Winter Frost City would not be lowered." Situ Shui smiled faintly and said, "Even though Lingdong province is barren, more than 70% of its area is made up of mountains and forests. Birds and beasts gather here. There are thousands of miles of green mountains in the north, and Copper Helmet Mountain in the south, which is rich in resources. Duke Wei often takes us out to hunt, so there is definitely no shortage of food. If it weren't for those mine thieves, there would be more prey in Copper Helmet Mountain." "Mine thieves?" Lin Muyu was stunned. "What do you mean by mine thieves?" Wei Chou cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, there is a mountain range that stretches for hundreds of miles 50 miles southeast of Winter Frost City. It is called Bronze Helmet Mountain. 3 years ago, someone discovered that there are very rich mineral deposits in Bronze Helmet Mountain. There are gold, silver, iron, and copper mines. So, many illegal merchants from Cloud Province, Cangnan Province, and Linkong Province have entered Bronze Helmet Mountain to mine privately. We have tried to stop them, but we have no choice." "How's the mineral reserves?" Lin Muyu asked as she thought of something. Wei Chou said, very rich. Everyone says that Sangnan province is rich in mineral deposits. However, I have gone to survey Bronze Helmet Mountain. The mineral deposits in Bronze Helmet Mountain within 300 miles are comparable to the entire Sangnan province. Unfortunately, we don't have enough manpower, so we can only send thousands of people to mine. Those bastard mine thieves have taken advantage of us. That's a good thing. Lin Muyu squinted her eyes and smiled. Ah. Wei Chou was stunned. How can this be a good thing? These illegal merchants are excavating the resources in your highness's fief. I know. But can they finish excavating Bronze Helmet Mountain within 300 miles? Lin Muyu smiled. Since we don't have enough manpower, we can rely on these merchants to help us excavate and help our Prosperity Ridge Winter Province in iron smelting, commerce, and trade. What do you mean? Situ-sen was also at a loss. Lin Muyu explained with a smile, we can draft a decree for Prosperity Ridge Winter Province. Anyone who wants to do mineral business is welcome to mine in Bronze Helmet Mountain. However, according to the law, 70% of their mining income must be paid to Winter Frost City. Think about it, even if they only get 30%, they will still make a profit. These merchants will definitely hire a lot of manpower to mine in Bronze Helmet Mountain, which will attract more people to Winter Frost City. These merchants also need to make a living, so they will build mansions in Winter Frost City. With more people coming and going, the business of restaurants, cloth shops, and rice shops will gradually improve, and more people will settle in Winter Frost City. With the Bronze Helmet Mountain mine alone, we can make Winter Frost City prosper. More importantly, with the minerals that the merchants give us, we can smelt iron and forge weapons. Not only will the equipment in Longdan Army Camp be self-sufficient, but we can also do business in weapons and armor. That's a huge profit. Wei Chou, Situ-sen, Situ-shui, Fengxi, and the others were dumbfounded. None of them expected that Lin Muyu was not only talented in cultivation, but also a good businessman. Of course, everyone wanted to protect the mines in their territory, but none of them was as good at business as Lin Muyu. Are there many birds and beasts in Bronze Helmet Mountain? Lin Muyu asked again. Not bad. Situ-shui said, Bronze Helm Mountain is very close to Winterfrost City, so there aren't too many high-level spirit beasts here. There are only a few ferocious beasts like tigers and wolves. If it weren't for these tigers and wolves, I'm afraid the mine thieves would be even more rampant. Lin Muyu smiled and said, organize the guards of Longdan Army Camp to go up the mountain and eliminate the beasts, so that the merchants can mine in a safe environment. We need to promise the outside world that it's absolutely safe. In addition, send 100,000 soldiers of Longdan Army Camp to set up temporary camps around Bronze Helmet Mountain, and prohibit private mining. Those who want to mine in the mountain must sign an agreement with Winter Frost City, and those who don't hand over 70% of their profits will be punished according to the law. Yes, I understand. Wei Qiu had a face full of smiles, and said, tomorrow, this subordinate will send the relevant documents to all parts of Lingdong province. No, not just Lingdong province. Announce this decree to the whole world, and attract mining merchants from all over the world to mine in Lingdong province. Yes, I understand. Late at night, the banquet ended. Wei Chou, Situ-sen, and the others went to prepare for the new decree, while Qin Xiling led a group of craftsmen to the new residence under the guidance of Bai Yin. Fortunately, there were still many vacant residences in Winter Frost City, so it wasn't difficult to arrange for this group of people. In a small courtyard in the depths of the mansion, Lin Muyu crossed his arms and looked up at the sky. His mind was indescribably peaceful, and his eyes were slowly plated with gold. His divine power kept rippling in the surroundings. He closed his eyes and used his heart to feel everything around him. At this moment, the young supreme head in his high suddenly shone brightly, and a thought followed Lin Muyu's mind straight to the sky, penetrating the laws of planes, and reaching the celestial realm, which was completely different from the mortal world. He tried hard to find that familiar aura. Finally, after nearly an hour, in a corner of the celestial realm, Lin Muyu suddenly found it, and couldn't help but be overjoyed. At the same time, there were some ripples in the Pond of Illusion in the celestial realm. Not far from the Pond of Illusion, a god king holding a saber couldn't help but be stunned, and said, Someone from the mortal world wants to break into the celestial realm. Hurry up and call His Majesty, the Demon Emperor. Yes. An ultimate god flew away. However, at this moment, a majestic voice came from the sky above the Pond of Illusion. There's no need, I'm already here, all of you move away. This isn't someone trying to break into the Pond of Illusion, but someone is looking for me. Yes, Demon Emperor. Beside the Pond of Illusion, a group of ultimate gods and god kings knelt on one knee. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor slowly descended, raised his arms, and slowly parted the water of the Pond of Illusion. Suddenly, spiritual energy appeared above the Pond of Illusion with a whoosh, slowly condensing into the figure of Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu, as a mortal, had an audience with the god of the celestial realm. This was a very rare scene. You little brat, you made me worry for a long time. The Demon Emperor smiled reproachfully. Lin Muyu looked around in a daze, and said, This is the celestial realm? That's right, when are you going to ascend? Big brother is waiting for you here. Oh, I'm not here to ascend, Lin Muyu said, I want to ask the Demon Emperor something. You want to ask about Qin Yin's whereabouts, right? Big brother, you know? Why wouldn't I know? You don't have to ask. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor flicked his sleeves and said, Qin Yin has a heavens will over god persona. She is the master of the law of light between heaven and earth, but she was killed in the human realm. Her over-god persona had no place to condense, so it turned into billions of spiritual essence and scattered across the 3 realms. In other words, her soul has dispersed, and now Qin Yin's spiritual essence has entered the 6 paths of reincarnation. The 3 realms have their own laws, you can't overstep them at all. You can only wait for Qin Yin to reincarnate and awaken her memories to look for you. Big brother really can't do anything about this. If that's the case, then I have one more thing. Little brat, I thought you were here to chat with me, but you're here to collect a debt. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said slightly angrily, looking displeased. Chapter 635. Tell me, what else do you want me to do for you? The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor asked indignantly. That, Lin Muyu was a little embarrassed and said, I heard that after ascending from the human world, the godheads are divided into 5 grades, mortal godhead, heavenly Tao godhead, forged immortal godhead, over-god godhead, and sovereign godhead. I have a good brother who is about to step into the god realm, so I asked the Demon Emperor to help me find a forged immortal godhead. It would be even better if it's the over-god godhead. You stinking brat. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor's face twisted and said, Do you think the current 3rd grade godheads are cabbages? Do you think you can get them just because you want them? Do you know that more than 90% of the gods in the heavenly realm are mortal godheads? Of course I know that the first 3 grades of godheads are hard to find. Otherwise, why would I look for you? I could just look for Fairy Xiao. Tui, stinking brat. The Demon Emperor was so angry that he couldn't speak. His face and neck were red, but the smile on his face was clearly saying that he was glad that you could say that. On the side, within the dense light, Fairy Xiao's figure flickered and appeared. She giggled and said, You actually didn't look for me directly but looked for the Demon Emperor. This makes me so sad. Do you not trust me that much? Do you think that I can't find the first 3 grades of godheads for you? That's not it. Lin Muyu said, It's just that it's more justified to tell the Demon Emperor. You're really self-righteous. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor spat and said, Enough, quickly retract your divine power. Don't you know that it's very wasteful for the gods of the mortal world to have an audience with the heavenly lake? Luckily your godhead is the sovereign godhead. Otherwise, you would have lost your divine power long ago. Don't be so impulsive next time. If you want to find me, just call my name to the sky. Tui. Lin Muyu also blushed. How many times have I called your name to the sky in the crimson abyss? But you've always been pretending to be dead, haven't you? Humph, what are you talking about? The 7 luminaries demon emperor laughed. Am I that kind of god? Obviously not. Besides, there's really nothing I can do to save Qin Yin's life. If I heard your prayer and went down there without helping you, wouldn't it ruin my image as the 7 luminaries demon monarch? Don't you think so? Lin Muyu snorted and laughed. This explanation is simply nonsense. You bastard, you haven't seen me for so many years just to quarrel with me. You're the bastard. How dare you say that you're omnipotent? You can't even save Shao Yin, and you still have the cheek to call yourself the 7 luminaries demon emperor? I think you're just a mortal. Bah, a weakling. Ah, Lin Ruoji, you little brat. The 7 luminaries demon emperor flew into a rage, and the heavenly realms suddenly rumbled. It was as if the 7 luminaries demon emperor's emotions could already affect the weather of half the heavenly realm. Ziao laughed and said, "All right, both of you stop quarreling. You, focus on cultivating in the shattered cauldron realm. The demon emperor and I will think of a way to get a cast immortal fate for your friend as soon as possible. Don't worry, quickly retract your divine power." All right, then I'll leave it to Fairy Ziao. Lin Muyu cupped her fists, and her figure slowly dissipated above the heavenly lake. The group of godly venerable gods, divine kings, and emperor gods were all stunned. Most of them were cultivators who had ascended to godhood as mortals, but they had never thought that the scattered gods in the mortal realm could use their telekinesis power to penetrate the walls of the heavenly realm and the mortal realm. How strong was their telekinesis power? Demon Emperor, calm down, said Ziao with a smile. The 7 luminaries demon emperor also smiled. After heaving a sigh of relief, he said, "Do you think I'm angry? Huh, it's been a long time since I've had such a hearty quarrel." How refreshing. Ziao was speechless. After a while, she said, "Demon Emperor, you needs a cast immortal fate. He's most likely looking for it for Feng Jixing. What should we do? Should we forge a new immortal fate?" "Yes, since that kid has asked, as his big brother, I can't not help him," the 7 luminaries demon emperor asked. "Ziao, how many godheads do we have in our storage?" "A total of more than 3,400 godheads, but most of them are mortal ones. The best one is just over 100 heavenly Dao godheads. There's no cast immortal fate." "I remember. Divine King Fire Dance Ouyang Yan's cast immortal fate was taken away by us, right? Wasn't her godhead given to the gods of the southern heaven realm as a gift? Otherwise, why would they so easily agree to help us attack the western heaven realm? Damn, I forgot about that." The 7 luminaries demon emperor grinned and said, "Then there's no other way. We can only forge it ourselves. Go to the storage and bring 10 heavenly Dao godheads over. I want to refine 10 heavenly Dao godhead spiritual essence crystals and forge a cast immortal fate." "But..." Fairy Ziao pursed her red lips and said, "But if you personally refine the cast immortal fate, you will lose at least 100 years of your cultivation. The war between us and the gods of the western heaven realm is imminent. Wouldn't it be bad for you to lose your cultivation? Demon Emperor, don't forget that there are many experts among the gods of the western heaven realm. It is said that their sacred heaven realm angels are extremely powerful. The strength of the 6-winged angels is comparable to our eastern heaven court's god emperors. They control the peak power of the law of light. The outcome of this battle is still uncertain. Don't worry, 100 years of cultivation is a piece of cake for me. Furthermore, I will absorb some divine power from the godheads to replenish my lost cultivation. It's already amazing if I lose 3 to 5 years of cultivation. As for the western heaven realm, after the eastern heaven court's recast, they actually repeatedly violated our borders. If I don't exterminate them, I won't be called the 7 luminaries demon emperor. After saying so much, when are we going to start refining this cast immortal fate? Cough cough, at least wait until after I have a meal. Alright, I'll go prepare a meal and 10 heavenly fate for you. Wait for me at the Extreme Sky Palace. Alright. Oh right, how do you plan to deal with the hundreds of savage goddesses that we captured when we attacked the northern heaven realm? I heard from them that you want to choose 30 goddesses with the best figures and the most upright faces to be your concubines. One for a night and one for a month? Aha, Xiao, what kind of person do you think I, the 7 luminaries demon emperor, am? Humph, release these savage goddesses and let them plant spirit rice for our eastern heaven realm. You really don't feel heartache? I don't feel heartache. The 7 luminaries demon emperor clenched his fists as tears slid down the corners of his eyes. He looked at Xiao's back and suddenly called out softly with affection, Xiao, Xiao sweetly turned around and asked with a smile that was like a flower, what's wrong? Do you have something to say to me? Yes. Say it. Xiao's heart was beating wildly. The 7 luminaries demon emperor murmured softly, let all the gods in the eastern heaven realm keep it a secret. We can't let the rest of the gods in the heaven realm know that you has formed the sovereign godhead. Otherwise, it's inevitable that someone will cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. After all, no one wants a young supreme god to grow up and become a strong opponent. Alright, Xiao's mind was filled with a million Amatharf ****** as she activated War Trample and ran away without looking back. The demon emperor looked at Xiao's back desolately and felt that she would never return. Swoosh! A beam of telekinesis turned into a golden light and entered Lin Muyu's eye. Her divine consciousness returned to Lin Muyu's eye, and the young sovereign godhead immediately dimmed. In just a few minutes, the telekinesis had consumed at least half of the sovereign godhead's divine power. However, it didn't have much of an impact, and it would recover after a few days of rest. Lin Muyu clenched her fists and couldn't help but feel a little complicated. The 7 luminaries demon emperor couldn't find Qin Yin, and she really didn't know where Qin Yin's sovereign godhead had drifted to in the 3 realms. At this time, she saw Situ Shui walking to a cage not far away with grains in her hands and feeding a little bird in it. She looked very happy and even talked to the bird, Qingyu, grow up quickly. When you grow up, you will be the eyes of Winter Frost City. Do you know how much courage is on your shoulders, oh no, on your wings? Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She walked forward and said, Ah Shui, what are you doing? Where did this bird come from? It's your highness. Situ Shui didn't feel restrained and said with a smile, last time when I went hunting with Duke Wei Cho, I shot a python and saved this little bird. Unfortunately, its mother had been swallowed by the python. Why, does your highness also know how to raise birds? I don't know, but it's not good to keep it in a cage. Is that so? Yes, otherwise how can it spread its wings and fly in the future? Hee, that's true. Then take it out of the cage. When Situ Shui took the young green swan out of the cage, it actually flapped its wings that hadn't grown feathers and were full of fluff. It ran on the log toward Lin Muyu and chirped at Lin Muyu, but no one knew what it was saying. Lin Muyu sensed a familiar aura, but she couldn't tell it clearly. Looking at the young bird, suddenly her eye was in turmoil, and she couldn't help but shake her head violently. Your Highness, what's wrong with you? Situ Shui was stunned. This bird and I are actually connected by a strong telekinesis. Lin Muyu was stunned. What's wrong with me? This means that you and my green feather are fated. Situ Shui smiled slightly. Is that true? Lin Muyu was dubious. She slowly probed the young green swan with her telekinesis, but found that her telekinesis couldn't penetrate the thoughts of the green swan. No wonder, she was a god, and it was just a feathered animal. How could there be a telekinesis response? At the thought of this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile indifferently. Shui, are you going to raise it as a scout? Well, does your highness want it too? I have never raised a bird. Situ Shui looked at him angrily. You obviously want it very much, but you refuse to welcome it. Your highness, you still treat me like an outsider. In that case, I will let you raise green feather, but I have to see it once a day. Is that okay? Yes, it doesn't matter if you see it 100 times. Okay, this is its favorite grain. Your highness, you can feed it yourself. Okay. Chapter 636. Several months later, the divine power in Lin Muyu's body had recovered to its peak, and Xingyu was growing stronger and stronger. Her wings were becoming more and more plump, and she was even eager to try flying, but she failed again and again. On the 17th of August 7741 of the imperial calendar, the weather was very hot in the morning, and the training bugle sounded in the barracks of Winter Frost City. Lin Muyu walked out of the tent. She was dressed in a simple green and white outfit, looking like a ranger. She was also wearing the Empire's military uniform and armor. Sita Shui, who was standing outside the door, was slightly taken aback. "Your Highness, why aren't you wearing your uniform?" "Because I'm going on a long journey." "You're finally going?" Sita Shui's expression became solemn. She knew that Lin Muyu always had something that she wanted to do, but had not had the time to do it. "It's time." Lin Muyu looked to the north and said, "Xiaoxi is imprisoned in Heaven's Gorge, and I don't know if she's alive or not. I have nightmares almost every night. Whether she killed Xiao Yin on purpose or not, she is still Xiaoxi, someone very important to me." Shui, these days, many caravans from the 10 provinces have been gathering in Winter Frost City, and our goal has been achieved. Winter Frost City will become more and more prosperous because of this. I'll leave this place to you and Wei Chou. Tell Wei Chou to guard Lingdong province on my behalf." "Yes, I understand." Sita Shui said softly, "Your Highness, you have to be careful too. Heaven's Gorge is the nest of the demons, and it's not that simple. You may be a god, but, I know." Lin Muyu patted Sita Shui's shoulder and said, "I'll leave Qingyu and Takshu in your care. Wait for my return." "Yes." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and took a few steps back. Suddenly, a spatial crack appeared behind him and Lin Muyu disappeared from where he stood. This was the legendary ability of a god to break through the void and travel 100 miles in a single leap. Sita Shui's eyes widened as she stared at the place where Lin Muyu had disappeared. She was both envious and sad at the same time. Once this army commander was gone, she always felt that something was missing. Swoosh! Lightning and the power of space intertwined, and Lin Muyu appeared in the forest dozens of kilometers north of Winter Frost City. Lingdong province was barren, and the villages and towns were far less densely packed than North Ridge province and Sangnan province. There was no sign of human habitation within 5 kilometers, so Lin Muyu did not have to worry about anything. She leaped onto the clouds and flew toward the north. The teleportation ability could not be used continuously, and even Lin Muyu's paragon personality could not support continuous teleportation. However, she could teleport once every 5 minutes, which greatly reduced Lin Muyu's speed. However, she was not in a hurry to go there. After all, Tang Xiaoxi had been in the demons for 4 years. If she was really killed, a few more seconds would not make a difference. About a kilometer above the ground, Lin Muyu flew as she observed everything on the ground. After passing the steel wall, she would reach the boundary of Heaven Span province. Among the 12 provinces of the empire, only Heaven Span province had not been completely reclaimed from the hands of the demons. However, the demons were gradually losing control of Heaven Span province. The valiant Dragon Legion constantly sent out cavalry to harass them, forcing them to retreat step by step from the provinces at the edge of Heaven Span province. Along the way, Lin Muyu saw the imperial and demon banners intertwined together. There were small skirmishes almost every day, and the final result was that the demons had all retreated into Heaven Span Gorge. At noon, Zhang Tai was in the sky above Heaven Span City. This city was the provincial center of Heaven's Reaching Province, which was a poor province only inferior to Lingdong Province. Originally, Heaven's Reaching City had about 300,000 residents, however, there were less than 100,000 people enslaved by demons now. Lin Muyu flew in the air and saw everything in Heaven's Reaching City clearly. Teams of armored demons were carrying broadaxes and spears and escorting groups of human craftsmen. At least, Iha country pretentiously declared that all living beings were equal, however, demons were completely suppressed. No wonder demons were declining day by day. All of a sudden, sharp voices drifted from the clouds above. It was the Wing People's troop. There were countless winged people scouts in the sky above Heaven's Span province. They had shot all the messenger birds that Longdan army camp sent out for reconnaissance. Therefore, Longdan army camp knew almost nothing about the situation in Heaven's Span city. About 70 to 80 winged ones flew over together and let out sharp cries. The winged ones were also feathered beasts. They did not know how to speak the human language, nor did they know how to look at people. They did not understand how a human could fly like them without wings. They did not know that this was the ultimate level of human cultivators, God. Arrows flew over. The winged people's first method of attack was to shoot arrows. Lin Muyu could not help but smile. Her heart was filled with killing intent. Suddenly, she opened her arms. Suddenly, the space seemed to be frozen. Golden balls appeared in the sky. It was the divine power of the law of space and the pressure of God's domain. For a moment, all the arrows could not fly. The invisible force field turned into a golden light with Lin Muyu as the center and spread out in all directions. Peng, 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 almost without Lin Muyu doing anything herself, the bodies of the 78 winged people were all crushed by the pressure of God's domain in the air. They exploded into a pile of flesh and blood and fell down. Piles of winged people's corpses fell into the city. Lin Muyu did not want to cause any trouble. She stepped on the void and left with a pop, turning into a meteor and falling towards the north. Pa, pa, pa. When the piles of winged people's corpses fell into Heaven's Span city, a group of armored demons was scared out of their wits. They waved their battle axes in the air and roared, "Steel bar, scavenger sand." Unfortunately, they could not see any opponents. It was a power that these armored demons could not touch. To them, Lin Muyu was too powerful. She was a godlike existence and could not be bothered to fight these ants. When they saw the winged people's corpses fall, the enslaved humans smiled. An old man who had his hands and neck locked could not help but laugh out loud. "Damned demons, you'll get what you deserve sooner or later. Just you wait, the Imperial Army of Lingdong Province will definitely recover Heaven's Span City. That day will be the day you die." "Shut up." A high-ranking demon rode past on a horse and lashed out with a whip. The old man's back was immediately lacerated, and he fell to his knees with a pained cry, unable to move anymore. The young high-ranking demon looked at the piles of winged people's corpses on the ground and said coldly, "The humans are attacking from the sky. They must have tamed flying beasts." "Humph. Men, report to the divine capital immediately and request for 2 giant flying snakes to defend Heaven's Span Province's aerial domain. We can't just hand Heaven's Span Province over to those despicable humans." "Yes, my lord." A horse galloped out of the city and headed north. On the northern edge of Heaven's Span Province, at the border between Heaven's Span Province and Heaven's Span Gorge, a blue sky screen rose into the sky. It reached up to the sky and down to the Inferno prison, separating the Middle-earth continent and Heaven's Span Gorge into 2 different worlds. This sky screen was called the Wall of the World by the demons, and its function was obvious. If not for the existence of this Wall of the World, human scouts would not have been completely ignorant of the divine capital. Whoosh! Lin Muyu landed on the ground and crouched in the grass outside the road. She was about 5 kilometers away, but after her eyes were coated with golden light, her eyesight instantly increased tenfold. She could see everything within 5 kilometers clearly. There, a group of armored demons was transporting carts of armor, shields, and weapons into Heaven's Span Gorge. At the forefront, a high-ranking demon held a long sword with a calm expression. After arriving in front of the sky screen, he slowly raised his arm and raised a fiery red seal. He shouted, "Wall of the World, open." Swish, 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 as he moved forward, the Wall of the World opened like a curtain, revealing a picturesque scene inside. This high-ranking demon raised his arm and watched as the armored demons transported the goods into Heaven's Span Gorge. "What's that?" Lin Muyu frowned. A tiger seal carved from a fiery red stone? This thing produced a faint energy that could actually restrain the energy of the Wall of the World. It was not simple. However, Lin Muyu did not intend to steal such a fiery red seal to enter the wall of the world. She intended to challenge the wall of the world. With a leap, he flew close to the ground and arrived at an uninhabited place dozens of kilometers away. Lin Muyu slowly approached the wall of the world and reached out his palm to touch the wall of the world. Instantly, a piercingly cold energy burned his palm. If not for the protection of his divine power, his right hand would have been destroyed. Humph! He suddenly opened his palm, and the supreme divine power surged as he struck at the wall of the world. A wave of energy spread out, and the entire wall of the world and the earth seemed to tremble. However, Lin Muyu's palm could not penetrate the wall of the world. It could only make it tremble. Instead, the energy in the wall of the world converged and suddenly counterattacked, causing Lin Muyu to retreat dozens of steps. The blood and qi in his body became chaotic. Lin Muyu could not help but be excited. What a powerful force! Interesting. Clang! The star's sword was unsheathed, and golden light plated his eyes. For a moment, the light around him soared into the sky, and golden battle spirals lingered around him. Under the concentration of divine power, the star's sword shone brightly. Lin Muyu mustered all his strength and slashed down at the wall of the world, 5 elements 8 wastelands annihilation. Bang! The world was still shaking. The power of this sword was so strong that it tore the ground dozens of meters under Lin Muyu's feet into a deep pit, as if a storm had broken out here. The sky was buzzing and trembling, and cracks had already appeared. As expected, the energy of this sky was not endless. It could be shattered. Lin Muyu mustered all her strength and let out a deep roar. Streams of astral energy gathered on her sword. Her strongest attack was coming. 7 glorious stars transformation. Bang! Even before the power of the 7 glorious stars transformation was fully unleashed, the canopy of the sky had already begun to collapse. When the countless stars of the 7 glorious stars transformation fell from the sky, the poor canopy of the sky was instantly pierced through like a sieve. The canopy of the sky within a radius of several tens of kilometers was affected by the chain reaction and exploded one after another. A small half of the sky-piercing gorge was already in sight. At the edge of the broken canopy, streams of subwind power were burning and flashing. Lin Muyu's sword had split open a 50-kilometer-long hole, and the devil race would definitely not be able to repair it in a short time. Suddenly, a sense of weakness came from inside her body. After all, the backfire of the 7 glorious stars transformation was too strong. Even Lin Muyu with the powerful soul power of the supremacy personality couldn't be completely immune to it. Fortunately, this feeling of weakness was not serious. She only lost half of her cultivation, and would probably recover by itself in 10 minutes. Whoosh! Rushing into the sky-piercing gorge like lightning, Lin Muyu's heart was filled with joy. Looking at everything in the sky-piercing gorge, she couldn't help but murmur in her heart, "Xiao Shi, where are you?" Chapter 637. It was dusk and the setting sun shone down from the west. But when Lin Muyu flew into the heavens gorge, she found that it was like another world. The sun hung high in the sky, scorching hot. How was it dusk? Indeed, the heaven-reaching gorge didn't belong to the shattered cauldron realm in the first place. It was an existence that was connected to another dimension. Pa-pa. 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 Behind him, there was a huge hole in the world wall. Sparks were coming out from the edge of the hole and the fire was spreading. If there was no power to repair it, the hole would only get bigger and bigger. Lin Muyu flew rapidly above the forest and quickly entered the gorge. What came into view were dozens of cities in the gorge, and there were even more in the distance. No one knew how big the heavens gorge was, but to be able to nurture an army of hundreds of thousands or even millions of demons, it must be a fertile land. No, I have to find out where Tang Xiaoxi is being held. After landing on the ground, Lin Muyu hid herself in the grasses. She saw a group of people slowly walking towards her from afar. Over 30 armored demons were escorting almost 200 humans. These humans were as skinny as a match with their hands tied with ropes. They should be demon craftsmen. Demons lacked human craftsmen the most. Therefore, they always gained advanced forging ability by suppressing humans. If there were more than 30 armor demons, it would be easy to deal with them. Moreover, there was a high-level demon among them, which made things even easier. They could keep him alive and interrogate him about Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Whoosh! Lin Muyu abruptly jumped out of the grasses as she rushed towards a team of armor demons in the distance like a small storm mixed with green grasses. Steel bar. The group of armor demons was dumbfounded. The only high-level demon who escorted them shouted, "Quick, block that thing." 3 armor demons roared and rushed forward. However, as soon as the sword light flashed by, these armor demons were all split into halves. Lin Muyu almost raised the speed of her falling star steps to the extreme. She flew through the crowd like a bolt of lightning. 3 seconds later, she suddenly stopped. Behind her, the armor demons could not move at all. Their bodies were tied up by visible whirlwinds. Lin Muyu clenched her fist lightly. Pang, pang, pang. The group of armor demons were all cut into pieces by the wind blades. Who are you? The only surviving high-level demon looked at her in fear. This high-level demon had never seen a human kill more than 30 adult armor demons so easily. Moreover, the power she used was not like that of a human at all. It was more like that of a god who could summon wind and rain. Lin Muyu approached him step by step, and the invisible pressure of the supreme god's domain pressed down on him, causing beads of sweat to drip down his face. As long as you answer one question of mine, I won't kill you. Lin Muyu smiled slightly. Ask. I will definitely answer. Where is Tang Xiaoxi imprisoned? The high-level demon's face suddenly turned pale. Which Tang Xiaoxi? The place where she's imprisoned is the highest secret of the divine race. I'm just a 2-star demon ancestor. I don't have the qualifications to know this place. I really don't know. Lin Muyu slowly raised his palm, and a golden energy enveloped each of his fingers. He abruptly grabbed onto the shoulder of the high-ranked demon, and in an instant, his bones were crushed. His golden eyes stared at the high-ranked demon, who was already stunned by the pain. Lin Muyu calmly asked, "Speak, where is Tang Xiaoxi? Otherwise, you will die." I really don't know. The high-level demon cried. If I knew, I would definitely tell you, but I really don't know. If you really want to find out, you can ask His Majesty the God Emperor and the Saint Sovereign. They must know. Where is the Divine King? In the Shen's capital. Where is it? You can see it after climbing over that mountain. The Shen's capital is the largest in the Sky Gorge. And there are countless guards inside and outside the capital. Don't kill me, all right. Lin Muyu knocked the high-ranking demon out with a backhand slap. Then, with a jolt of his divine power, the ropes that bound the human craftsman were torn apart. He said lightly, "Everyone, leave quickly if you can. There's a big hole in the sky towards the south. If you run there, you might be able to survive. Hurry up and go." Everyone remained motionless. They had long been scared silly by the cruelty and ruthlessness of the devil race. How could they still dare to move? Until an old man walked out from the crowd and respectfully saluted, saying, "May I ask this young hero, who exactly are you?" Lin Muyu smiled. "My name is Lin Muyu." "Ah, King Qin. You are King Qin." The old man trembled and quickly knelt down. "His Highness King Qin has finally come to save us. His Highness King Qin has finally come to save us." The other craftsmen knelt down as well. Their faces were full of gratitude. Lin Muyu felt guilty. In reality, he didn't come to save them. But, as long as he defeated the demons in the Sky Gorge, he would indeed save these imprisoned humans. "Hurry up and leave. You don't have much time." "I still have things to do." "Yes, Your Highness." Then we'll go." The newcomer turned around and led a group of craftsmen into the dense forest without looking back. This was a rare opportunity for them to escape. As long as they entered the borders of Skyspan province and avoided the demon scouts, they might be able to escape back to Winterridge province. As long as they reached the steel walls and saw the Imperial army, it would be equivalent to escaping with their lives. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He leaped into the sky. The higher the better. It was the safest way to get away from the demon scouts and enter the divine capital. The divine capital was resplendent. Large amounts of resources were transported from Lingdong province and Tongtian province back to the divine capital, allowing the royal members of the demon race to live a luxurious life. Even the entire palace was washed with gold lacquer, making it look dazzling. No matter how much the demon king tried to whitewash himself as a god king and a supreme god, in the end, it was all for the sake of glory, splendor, wealth, and rank. Inside the palace, the demon king wore a golden royal robe and held a dazzling longsword. He sat calmly on the throne. The sage master stood beside him in a black robe. Below him were a few demon generals and the gorgeously dressed princess, Feng Jing-er. Jing-er, tomorrow is your wedding day with Marshal Chen Feng. Is everything ready? The demon king asked with a smile. Everything is ready. Don't worry, father. That's good. You must serve Marshal Chen Feng well in the future and live in harmony with your husband. Only then will you live up to father's expectations. Yes, your daughter understands. Feng Jing-er blushed. It's a pity. The demon king sighed. It's a pity that your sister Ning is still in Winter Frost City. Sigh. In order to get her back, we've lost nearly 50,000 armored demons. I wonder how she's doing in Winter Frost City. She's the princess of our race, but she's been imprisoned for 5 years. It's such a waste. Qianfeng cupped his fists and said, Father, don't worry. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing are both scholarly generals. Even if they fight against our race, they won't humiliate His Highness Ning-er. Don't worry about that. As long as this subordinate's new strategy is developed, our army will be able to crush the steel walls, flatten Winter Frost City, capture Lin Muyu, and rescue His Highness Ning-er. Yes. Thank you for your hard work, Marshal Chen Feng. Then, this subordinate will take his leave to prepare for tomorrow's wedding. Good. Feng Jing held on to Qian Feng's arm with a blissful expression. The two turned around and left. The rest of the generals also left, leaving only the Demon King and the Sage Sovereign in the hall. Sage Sovereign, how's the refinement of the witch's demonic energy? The Demon King suddenly asked. Your Majesty, the witch's demonic energy is very powerful. We've refined more than 100 bottles of it, but it's still far from enough to deal with the war. 100? That's not bad. How's the witch Tang Xiaoxi? Has she woken up? No. She's been unconscious for 4 years. Why hasn't she woken up? Your Majesty. The Sage Sovereign paused and said, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin grew up together. The two of them are like sisters. Under the bewitchment of Yaoji in Bailing City, Tang Xiaoxi lost her mind and killed Qin Yin. This is a fact that she doesn't want to face. After many years of observation, Tang Xiaoxi's strength and spiritual sense have recovered to their peak, but she's still unconscious. The only explanation is that she doesn't want to wake up. The Demon King narrowed his eyes. What should we do? We need a reason for Tang Xiaoxi to open her eyes. A reason? The Demon King suddenly laughed. That's simple. Among the people that Tang Xiaoxi cares about, Tang Lan and Qin Yin are already dead. Only Lin Muyu is left. And Lin Muyu is now in Lingdong province. If we tell her this news, will she wake up? Perhaps she will, it's worth a try. Good. But at this moment, the Demon King suddenly looked up at the hall and shouted, Someone's coming, get out here. With a wave of his palm, the blood-colored Grandmaster Devil Force rushed straight to the base of the hall like a blood chain. With a bang, it pierced through the base of the hall. Countless bricks and tiles fell, while the blood chain entangled a golden light like a poisonous snake and forcibly pulled it down. Wang. The golden light swirled around Lin Muyu, who was being held back by Shuel Yen. After pondering for a moment, Shuel Yen entered his divine transformation battle form, his eyes flashing a golden light as he unsheathed his sword. The 7 luminaries' immortal gourd and god-binding chains quickly disintegrated and fused into the 7 luminaries' immortal sword. Cha-cha-cha, in the blink of an eye, the Demon King's blood refinement was turned into pieces while Lin Muyu rushed towards the Demon King and shouted, "Where is Tang Xiaoxi?" "Ha ha ha ha," the Demon King laughed loudly, "You're finally here." The Nephilim Emperor's palms formed a shield as he channeled all the divine energy in his body. In an instant, his strength was raised to its peak as he slammed his palms against Lin Muyu's sword. Chapter 638. Boom! With a single strike, a tyrannical energy swept through the hall, crushing the lanterns and other decorations into pieces. A group of guards who tried to step forward to help were all sent flying out of the hall. This was not a battle they could intervene in. Amidst the explosion, the Nephilim Emperor was forced to take a few steps back. He looked at his palms in disbelief. His blood-refining palm had already reached the 9th heavenly layer, reaching the realm of all-seeing heaven and earth. However, his all-out attack was actually forced back by Lin Muyu's sword. Just how strong has this brat become? Where is Xiaoxi? Lin Muyu bellowed. The golden light around her body soared into the sky. With a wave of her sword, the power of the 5 elements 8 wastelands annihilation swept out. Wah! The Devil King spat out a mouthful of blood. He hurriedly used the blood-refining palm's 8th heavenly layer blood shield to block the attack. But right at this moment, a sinister force came from behind Lin Muyu. It was the Devil Master's 5 demons' harmony divine art. Pung! Lin Muyu condensed the diamond body barrier and the walls of the gourd to defend herself. With the help of the Sovereign Head's God Force, the gourd's golden light was dazzling and forced the Saint Master to retreat. But Lin Muyu didn't have it easy either. Even though she wasn't seriously injured, the Saint Master's power was like an all-pervasive poison that seeped into her body, preventing her from recovering quickly. Die! After the Devil King's 5 elements 8 wastelands annihilation was forcefully blocked by the Devil King's blood shield, Lin Muyu's left hand spun and blasted out an ice fist. This time, the Devil King couldn't block it. With a peng, he was sent flying like a cannonball. He smashed through the walls of the hall and came to a stop in the air. Outside, a group of Devil Race guards rushed in. Qianfeng also returned with his sword unsheathed. "Your Majesty, what happened?" "Lin Muyu is here." "Oh my god." Qianfeng rushed into the palace and saw 7 demonic figures dancing around the Saint Master. He had already used his strongest 7 demons' harmony divine art to resist Lin Muyu's star art. Lin Muyu's body shone with golden light. Her god force was biting cold. The image of a mountain appeared on the blade of her sword and slashed down fiercely. 5 mountains descending. Bang! The 5 mountains descending from the heavens clashed with the 7 devils' amalgamation. Immediately, the Holy Sovereign spat out a mouthful of blood. Even though he was strong, he was still unable to face Lin Muyu head-on. However, Lin Muyu wasn't in a good state either. She had already lost a lot of her strength when she repelled the Devil Emperor. Now, she had to face the Holy Sovereign head-on. In addition, the Holy Sovereign's devil art was all-pervasive. Her god force couldn't last much longer, and the light of the Sovereign Godhead in her EC had dimmed significantly. Lin Muyu. With a roar, Qian Feng's Guru Devil Force whirled around his long sword, and he launched a fierce attack from the left. The sword light contained the powerful divine power of the Law of Fire. After a few years, even Qian Feng had stepped into the divine realm. Lin Muyu glanced at him and suddenly, her arms trembled. She spun her body and the 7 luminaries' fairy gourd produced a mysterious suction force. The force of the 6 demons' harmony divine art slammed into Qianfeng's attack. Boom! Qian Feng was sent flying back, and Lin Muyu's blood flow was in a mess. Many demonic guards were coming in from the outside, and the Wing tribe's army was also screaming in the air. What was worse was that she could hear cries from afar. It was a giant flying snake. If the giant flying snake came, she might not be able to escape. Thinking of this, she didn't say anything else. She stomped on the ground and bolted out of the palace. Her voice echoed in the wind, "Come after me if you dare. Bastard." Qian Feng lowered his body and was about to fly away when the Nephilim King's voice sounded, "Qian Feng, don't chase after her." The Saint Master nodded and said solemnly, "Lin Muyu's strength has completely exceeded our imagination. Any one of us could be killed if we chase after her. Don't act rashly." "All right." Qian Feng looked up and saw a purple sun rising slowly in the sky. He also saw Lin Muyu's figure. A chill ran down his spine and he said, "Let's go, he's attacking." The Nephilim King and the Saint Master hurriedly flew out of the palace. Just as the three high god experts flew out of the Great Hall, a violet sun descended from the sky, directly blasting the entire Great Hall into a pile of dust. A powerful shockwave swept out, killing at least 100 high-level demon race guards in one fell swoop. Damn it! The Nephilim King clenched his fists and said angrily, "If I don't kill Lin Muyu, I'm not human." In the sky, Lin Muyu flew up and stopped when the air was thinner. She took a deep breath. Qian Feng, the Saint Master, and the others didn't chase after her. Fortunately, it seemed that her cultivation was still not strong enough. The three demonic experts were no match for her, but it was a 3-on-1 battle. It was a pity that after eavesdropping for a long time, she didn't manage to find out where Tang Xiaoxi was. The Nephilim King saw through her aura. She closed her eyes and rested for nearly an hour. When her divine energy had recovered to 70%, Lin Muyu opened her eyes. The spirituality in her eyes had also recovered. The Shindu must be in chaos now. They thought that she would never come back after she escaped with her injuries. However, she couldn't leave. She continued to search the surroundings to see if there were any new clues. When she was about 500 meters above the ground, she saw that the heavenly gorge was dotted with hundreds of cities. Iron suspension bridges spanned across the hundreds of meters of mountains. It was very steep. The demon race had lived in such a harsh environment for tens of thousands of years. Finally, they raised hundreds of thousands of armored demons in an attempt to invade the central continent. However, the heavens didn't go their way and they were doomed to fail. Not until sunset did Lin Muyu slowly land on the ground. After observing in the air for a long time, she finally found a city where humans lived. Only a few armored demons and high-level demons were guarding it. It was an earthen city, which should be newly established. Many humans had set up camps in the sky and on the ground. It looked like a mountain stronghold. Swoosh! Lin Muyu slipped into the city without a trace. However, she found that there were some human soldiers in armor outside the camp of the civilians. Needless to say, they were the advance troops. They were a group of human soldiers who were enslaved by the demon race. Many of them were from the Empire Army. They were called the Shame of the Empire Army. Stop! He was quickly recognized. Two advance troops rushed over and unsheathed their swords, pointing them straight at him. "Who are you? Don't you know that it's forbidden to carry weapons here? Why can you carry weapons but I can't?" "Hey!" One of the wretched-looking skinny man laughed. "Because I am the advance troop. I am an honorable warrior serving the celestial race. What about you? What are you? I think you are just a lone warrior. Hey! Ihan Nation has been destroyed. A lone warrior like you from the House of Chivalry is like a dog without a master, wandering around. How pitiful. Come, follow me to see the young general." "What young general?" Lin Muyu frowned. "You will know when you see him. Let's go." Under the push of the two soldiers, Lin Muyu didn't resist. Even the star's sword was taken down. It didn't matter. It was too easy to take it back. After passing through the main road of the city, they came to a mansion made of bricks and tiles. This mansion was the most luxurious building in the city, although it paled in comparison to the Demon King's main hall. Outside the mansion, groups of advanced troops were guarding there. Each of them glared at Lin Muyu with steel sabers in their hands. It was as if they would tear him apart if he said a wrong word. After entering the main hall of the mansion, they saw a young man sitting on a chair in the distance. He was holding a cup of tea in his hand. His armor was still on. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He looked somewhat familiar. "Young general, we have caught a person. We suspect that he is a spy sent by the Empire Army. We have brought him to you." "Oh, is that so?" The young general smiled and said to an old General Su, "I wonder who sneaked into the Tongtian Gorge this time. You will know when you see him." Under the candlelight, Lin Muyu was escorted into the main hall by 2 advanced troops. With the help of the candlelight, she was stunned. How could it be? The young man was Min Zhan, and the old man was familiar with Lin Muyu. It was old General Su Ying. "Oh my God," Su Ying recognized Lin Muyu at a glance. He said with a trembling voice, It's Her Highness Lin Muyu." Min Zhan stood up abruptly. "How could it be?" "You." Lin Muyu calmed himself down. His brows furrowed as he suddenly opened his palm. The stellar sword flew over from afar, and with a pa sound, he unsheathed the sword. His god force revolved, and the pressure of his supreme god domain descended, immobilizing everyone in the surroundings. "Tell me, what is going on?" Lin Muyu looked at them coldly and said, "Old General Su Ying, I respect you as an old general of the Empire. But why did you become a minion of the demons and harm humans? And young General Min Zhan, you are the son of Marquis Min Yulin. Have you forgotten who you are?" Min Zhan and Su Ying couldn't move. Su Ying's old face was full of guilt. He said in a low voice, "Your Highness, do you think we are willing to be ordered by the demons? But Marquis is imprisoned. If we don't listen to the demons, he will be killed. In addition, our Yangwei Legion ran out of food in Winter Frost City. We are in a desperate situation. More than 1,000 people were captured. 700 or 800 of them have been killed or eaten. They were then incorporated into the advance troops. Many of our generals are Qianfeng's trusted followers. We are also being watched. We have no choice but to follow orders." "Marquis is not dead?" Lin Muyu was surprised. "Yes, father is not dead." Min Zhan gritted his teeth and said, "If not, we would have chosen to die a long time ago." Marquis Min Yulin was not dead. Lin Muyu didn't know whether this news was good or bad. But in the face of death and survival, how many people would have the courage to choose death? "Do you know where Princess Xi is being held captive?" Lin Muyu asked indifferently after a short while. Chapter 639. "We don't know." Su Ying lowered his head and said, "We are only the lowest rank in the demon army. Although we know that Princess Xi is in the sky-piercing gorge, we don't know where she is being held." "Have any of you seen Xiaoxi?" Lin Muyu asked. "No." Min Zhan shook his head and said, "Perhaps she is imprisoned in the demon's sealing gorge like father and the other gods." "The demon's sealing gorge?" "Yes." Min Zhan said respectfully, "The demon's sealing gorge is located in the northeast of here. It is very deep and is a place where the demons lock up important criminals. It is said that the demon emperor and the sage saint have captured some very important people and locked them up in the demon's sealing gorge. Can you take me to the demon's sealing gorge?" Lin Muyu's tone did not sound like a request, but more like an order. She had originally thought that Su Ying, Min Zhan, and the others had died in battle. She did not expect to see them alive here, nor did she expect that they had become the demon's minions. No matter what, Lin Muyu felt an inexplicable sense of disgust. She would rather they had died fighting the armor demons in Winterfrost City than see them now. Su Ying could see the disgust and unquestionable disgust in Lin Muyu's eyes. He could not help but laugh bitterly and said, "That's right, we are just a group of cowardly outcasts. Your Highness, you are no longer a grand deacon of the Divine Temple, but the ruler of the Empire, the King of Qin of the Three Kings regime. We will still obey your orders. Lin Muyu looked at Su Ying and saw that he had aged even more than a few years ago. The arrogance in his eyes had long disappeared, and there was only helplessness and vicissitudes. Looking at Su Ying's appearance, Lin Muyu actually felt a little heartache. Her voice softened a little as she said, "Old General Su Ying, if you are willing, I will do my best to take you out of the sky-piercing gorge and back to the human homeland." "Are you willing? Is that even possible?" Min Zhan, however, had a dejected look on his face as he said, "We are just a dispensable demon-enslaved army. Outside this earthen city, there is a demon patrol every 500 meters. Moreover, there are countless winged people circling above us, and there are even giant flying snakes comparable to the heaven-devouring titanic beast. There is no way we can escape the demon's line of sight." Su Ying let out a sigh of relief and a look of determination appeared on his face. He said, "Your Highness, this old general has lived for 5 years. Now, I'm getting old. If your Highness has any use for me, I will be willing to sacrifice my life to repay your Highness Yin's kindness in the past." Xiao Yin has already passed away. When Lin Muyu said this, there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. She said, "But if old General Su Ying is really willing to help me, then bring a team of advance troops and let me blend in with them. Send me to the Demon's Ceiling Valley. I know nothing about the terrain of the Heaven's Path Gorge. Without someone to lead the way, I will not be able to find the Demon's Ceiling Valley. Moreover, I cannot act rashly in order to save Xiaoxi. I have to understand the situation clearly." "Yes." Su Ying cupped his fists and said, "With your Highness's words, this old general has no regrets even if I die. I will assemble a team of 100 people, all of whom are our trusted aides, to follow your Highness to the Demon's Ceiling Valley. However, it is best that your Highness wear the armor of our advance troops. Otherwise, you will be easily recognized by others." "All right, I understand." Lin Muyu glanced at Min Zhan beside her. He had not said a word since the beginning and had no intention of going with them. "Young General, what about you?" "Me." Min Zhan was startled. His eyes revealed a strong sense of fear. He said, "There are countless demon race troops guarding outside the Demon's Ceiling Valley. Moreover, Father is still their hostage. If I act rashly, I am afraid that I will harm Father's life." Is that really the case?" Lin Muyu looked sharply at this once high-spirited son of Marquis Wei, one of the commanders of the Yangwei Legion. Now, Min Zhan's edges had long been worn down by the demon race. He was like a wolf that had been kept for too long. He had long lost his wolf nature and turned into a dog. But on second thought, the combat strength of the demon tribe was too strong. Not to mention Qian Feng and Demon Emperor who had the strength of 5-star Demon Grandmaster, ordinary people could not easily resist the battle strength of the armor demon. Min Zhan must have suffered a lot under the armor demon's saber and sword. He was afraid and dared not to resist. On the other hand, the old general, Su Ying, had regained some of his former vigor. When Lin Muyu appeared, Su Ying's mind was filled with the gratitude of the Arch. Rather than living an ignoble life, he would rather die a glorious death. A soldier handed over a set of armor of the advance army. Lin Muyu glanced at it. The clothes were made of coarse cloth, which looked very harsh on the body. The armor was rusty. Besides, it was just 2 pieces of iron connected by a simple rope. Even the worst corps armor in the Imperial Army would be far better than this. After sighing with emotion, Lin Muyu put on the military uniform of the advance army, still carrying the star's sword on her back. Outside the door, the 100 soldiers of the advance army assembled by Su Ying had already gathered. Most of them were young people. Their immature eyes were full of unwillingness to yield. Most of these people's parents were killed by the armor demon, and they had become the armor demon's lackeys. Seeing the arrival of Lin Muyu, it was tantamount to seeing a ray of light. "The preparations are complete. Please give the order, Emperor Qin," Su Ying said in a low voice. There were many people in the Earth City. Lin Muyu stood in front of the crowd. Her eyes swept across their young faces and said in a deep voice, "You once betrayed the empire and abandoned the dignity of humans. But today, Princess Tang Xiaoxi is imprisoned in the Demon's Ceiling Valley. You have to bring me to find her. If you can save Princess Xi, you will be the advance army of the empire. Move unhindered in all directions and protect the empire forever." "Move unhindered in all directions and protect the empire forever" was a line from the war song of the empire, the Ballad of the Autumn Goose. When Lin Muyu said these words, the group of soldiers were moved. The eyes of the old General Su Ying were filled with turbid tears. "Let's go. Old General Su, lead the way." "Yes." The group of people left the general's residence one after another. Su Ying rode his warhorse at the very front, while the rest walked. Lin Muyu also blended in with them. She lowered the brim of her hat and silently left this simple and crude human city. Night fell, and the grass was wet from the dew. War boots made rustling sounds as they stepped on the grass. A group of people quietly and slowly walked on the mountain path. Su Ying held his long saber and urged his horse to walk in front. His eyes swept around from time to time to ensure safety. Not long after, footsteps suddenly came from the side of the forest path. The next moment, a group of about 50 demons walked out from the forest and bumped into them. *T. A young soldier of the advance troop gritted his teeth. Su Ying hesitated for a moment and said in a low voice, "Don't panic. Let's go. I'll say goodbye." Lin Muyu nodded in approval. At this moment, the demon patrol team also walked out. A high-level demon rode on a fine horse and said with an arrogant gaze, "Oh, isn't this the vice commander of the advance army, old General Su Ying? Why did you bring people out so late at night?" "Reporting to General, I heard that Shendu was attacked by assassins. So this subordinate brought people out to patrol and protect the safety of Heaven's Gorge." Although this high-level demon only had the rank of a centurion, which was worlds apart from Su Ying, he was still a demon after all, and Su Ying was only a deputy commander of the puppet army, so he could only be respectful. "Is that so?" The high-class demon raised the corner of his mouth and said, "The Vanguard army attacked Divine Shadow City for a few months but failed to take it down. In the end, they were easily defeated by Qin Yan's army. Your battle prowess can be said to be the worst in the divine race. You want to rely on a group of trash like you to protect the Heavenly Gorge?" Su Ying continued to say respectfully, "We know we are stupid, but since we have received the grace of the God King, we should be grateful. Even if the battle power of our advance army is weak and needs more training, it is not a reason for us not to serve the Shin race." "Humph. You've got a point there. However, with us patrolling the area, you guys are just superfluous. Ha ha ha. Old General Su Ying, look at this army of yours. They're just like children playing house. If only the armies of the human empires were like you guys, that would be great. Who knows, yours truly might be in Lanyan City right now, hugging a girl and having fun." Yes, Su Ying's face turned livid, but he still maintained a respectful demeanor. After glancing at the people behind him, he continued to move forward. When the two troops passed by each other, the armored demons widened their eyes and glared at the advance army. The mountain was steep, and there was a bottomless abyss on one side. It was difficult for the two armies to cross each other. Especially since the armored demons were tall and sturdy, they were not willing to give way. The advance army could only walk along the edge of the mountain. Roar! Amidst the roar, a soldier of the advance army hit the armored demon with the hilt of his sword. The armored demon's eyes immediately turned scarlet. With a roar, it quickly struck with its shield. The young soldier only had time to let out a miserable howl before he fell into the bottomless abyss. His life disappeared in the blink of an eye, just like grass. Goddamn beast. The soldiers of the advance army glared angrily. But the murderous armored demon did not care about this at all. It opened its bloody mouth and roared again, as if it was deliberately provoking them. "What's wrong?" The high-level demon centurion turned around and asked. Suing frowned and said, "Nothing, continue forward." Although everyone was angry, they did not dare to say anything. Lin Muyu clenched her fists. She indeed had the ability to save the soldier who had fallen off the cliff, but as long as she made a move, she would be exposed. The tens of thousands of demon troops would soon arrive, and once the demons became alert, it would be even more difficult to go to the Demon Lock Valley to save the soldier. The mountain road was extremely rugged. After a full 4 hours, it was already late at night. Piles of bonfires were lit between the mountains. The patrolling armor demons were barbecuing game and eating. Suing pointed into the distance and said, "That valley entrance is the entrance to the Tongtian Gorge, but there are thousands of armor demons guarding outside. We can only send your highness up to here. If we go further, the advance army will definitely be driven away by the demons." Lin Muyu nodded, "Okay, I will go in myself. You all return to Earth City and wait for you. If we find Xiaoxi, I will take her to Earth City and find a way to bring you all out of the Tongtian Gorge." "Thank you, Your Highness." "How does Your Highness plan to go in?" "Fly in." Lin Muyu smiled and suddenly flew forward. With a whoosh, a purple boundary appeared. He had already stepped into the power of the four-dimensional space. There was nothing in front of him, only a grid of space tracks. But just as he passed through the space wall, there was suddenly a strong distortion in the space. What's going on? Chapter 640. Swish, swish, the sand of time around him suddenly became fiercer and hotter. Lin Muyu forcefully gathered his godly energy and looked at the spatial hole that he was about to pierce through. However, his body in the dimensional space was like a leaf in a gale. A powerful and invisible force was interfering with his four-dimensional control over the spatial law. The Fushi's godly energy had already fused with his supreme godhead, producing a vast and vigorous godly energy. Lin Muyu was like a kite in the strong wind, swaying violently in the air. He used all his strength to rush towards the spatial wall of Qianfeng. Finally, after expending a large amount of godly energy, he was able to touch the spatial wall. With a "pa" sound, he punched through the spatial wall and his figure shuttled out from the alternate dimension. Swoosh! It was pitch black in front of him. He was in the Shattered Cauldron Realms plain, and he was already in the Demon's Ceiling Valley. He stepped on the grassland and was surrounded by rocks and shrubs. From afar, he could see a fire. It was a group of demon guards guarding the Demon's Ceiling Valley roasting food. The armor demons were speaking in the demon language, calling out "Gooba Gooba" randomly. What happened just now? Lin Muyu muttered to himself. When he was piercing through the dimensional space, his four-dimensional power had actually reached a point where he could not control it. What exactly was interfering with him piercing through space? Lin Muyu was not in a hurry to act. He stood on the spot and closed his eyes. He quickly extended his spirit pulse technique and continuously explored the terrain and aura of the Demon's Ceiling Valley. The extremely restless and violent aura obviously came from the stupid armor demons. The sinister and cunning aura came from some high-level demons. In addition, there were a few extremely weak auras and a hidden aura of godly energy. That's right, there was a godly existence in the Demon's Ceiling Valley. However, this godly energy seemed to be controlled. It was very weak and could be said to be the weakest god that Lin Muyu had ever seen. For a moment, he was elated. It must be Tang Xiaoxi. If Tang Xiaoxi had not stepped into the godly state, she would not have been able to kill Qin Yin, who had the over-god godhead and the dragon crystal. Furthermore, this godly energy was so weak. It must be Tang Xiaoxi being controlled. Otherwise, she would not be this weak. Thinking of this, Lin Muyu could not wait any longer. He leaped forward, stepping on the green rock, and silently flew towards the depths of the Devil's Ceiling Valley like a bird in the night sky. He used the concealment ability of the Spirit Meridian technique to restrain his divine energy into his sea of Godhead. Others would not be able to detect his presence just by relying on his aura. Rustle, rustle, stepping on the tender leaves on the branches, Lin Muyu jumped into the dense foliage and stared into the distance with a frown. A few dozen meters away, nearly 30 armor demons were surrounding a bonfire. A huge wild boar weighing at least 150 kilograms was being roasted on the bonfire. A high-level demon was adding oil to the roasted boar. His skill was not good and the wild boar was not even dirted. The armor demons looked at the food with deep eyes and saliva dripped from their fangs. Humph, a bunch of fools who only know how to eat. The high-level demon complained, "This young master is the heir of the Gunan family. I should be learning fighting skills and strategies in the Divine Race Academy. Yet, I was assigned to serve you fools. I'm so angry. Rice crust. Rice crust." The group of armor demons didn't understand what the high-level demon was talking about. They just shouted excitedly. Behind this group of people was a towering rock wall, which was at least hundreds of meters high. The grassland and rocks within dozens of meters below the rock wall had been leveled and replaced by a huge magic circle. Scarlet stone pillars were standing around the magic circle, on which red talismans were pasted. Under the talismans, a pitch-black chain was fastened to the woman in the center of the magic circle. The chain penetrated her shoulder blades, hands and legs. It must be very painful. She lowered her head and vented her long hair on the ground. The divine power that Lin Muyu felt came from her. Pitifully, this woman was not Tang Xiaoxi. Tang Xiaoxi's figure was more delicate and exquisite. Additionally, her buttocks were rounder and perky than this woman's. When Lin Muyu was observing, one of the armored demons stood up and yelled at the imprisoned woman, Gubanese, "Oh, Qilu Zhanna. What did you say?" The high-level demon general couldn't help but laugh. He put down the brush in his hand and sneered, "You idiot, you actually have a mortal heart. Do you want to sleep with this woman? Do you know who she is? If not for the fact that her divine power was sealed by His Majesty the Demon Emperor, this woman could poke you to death with her nipples. Idiot, with your IQ, don't even think about fooling around with women. Come and eat. If you don't want to eat, all of you can eat shit." The group of armor demons went to eat obediently. They surrounded the wild boar and bit it. They didn't care that it was hot. Moreover, the wild boar was not roasted at all. Its internal organs were full of blood. Fortunately, the armor demons didn't dislike it. They swallowed the raw and cooked meat together. "It's not Xiaoxi." Lin Muyu was a little disappointed. However, since she had come here, she couldn't come in vain. First of all, this imprisoned woman was a deity. The demon clan was constantly absorbing her divine power through the magic circle. Her staying here would only make the demon clan stronger. Moreover, the enemy of the enemy was her friend. The demon clan was still very strong. They needed to unite all their friends. Thinking of this, Lin Muyu had already made up her mind to take action. She jumped down from the tree and rushed forward like a lightning. Her eyes were covered with a layer of golden brilliance. Her fists were surrounded by frost. She swept through the crowd of armor demons like a lightning covered with frost. Suddenly, the flames of the bonfire were extinguished. Armor demons and high-level demons were all frozen into frost. Clatter, their bodies burst into a pile of broken ice. Lin Muyu's speed of killing people with snow ice was very fast. Now, she could take a look at her future friend. Lin Muyu walked forward and raised her finger. Divine power surged, shattering all the iron chains and pulling them out of the woman's body. She fell down softly, but recovered a lot of strength in half a minute. It was enough to show how strong her cultivation was. She slowly raised her head. An extremely seductive face appeared in front of Lin Muyu, Ouyang Yan. It was actually Divine Monarch Huo Wu. "So it was you who saved me." Ouyang Yan's body was very weak. She murmured. "Otherwise, who else would be able to save you?" Lin Muyu's voice was calm. "I remember that in the Battle of Tranquil Valley 4 years ago, didn't you rely on your ability to shatter the void to escape? Why were you caught again?" Ouyang Yan's mental state was very poor. She couldn't help but laugh. "I don't know, why would they have something that can restrain my divine power and capture me? It's just like this demon's sealing valley. No god can escape here. It's as if the plane's wall has been sealed and can't be penetrated. Do you know what the reason is? Lin Muyu nodded. I used plane travel to enter the demon's sealing valley, but I was also disturbed by a strange power. Do you know what it is? I don't know. Yang Yan slowly shook her head. She suddenly pointed at the scarlet stone wall behind her. But it should be related to these stones. There are scarlet stones everywhere in the demon's sealing valley. Only this thing is different from the rest of the valleys. Stone? Lin Muyu was startled. She walked forward and touched the stone. Immediately, the rusty vanguard wrist guard on her wrist stuck to the stone with a plop. This stone actually had magnetism and could absorb iron. In an instant, Lin Muyu understood everything. That's right, if it was a magnetic field, then this demon's sealing valley was filled with magnets. This place was like a huge natural magnetic field, and the four-dimensional power used by gods to penetrate planes might have something to do with the magnetic field. It was precisely because of the magnetic field's interference that she almost failed to pass through and stayed in the alternate space. These stones are called bell-absorbing rocks. They can be found deep in the mountains of the continent. Although bell-absorbing rocks aren't very common, they aren't rare either. Do you know anything about them? Yang Yan asked. Lin Muyu nodded. I know. It's the magnetic field that interferes with the four-dimensional power, causing the teleportation to fail. The demons understood the connection between the magnetic field and divine power earlier than us. Magnetic field? Yang Yan looked confused. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. It's roughly equivalent to a kind of force field that can affect the power of gods. Lin Muyu used her longsword to cut off a bell-absorbing rock from the stone wall. The sky curtain is also affected by the magnetic field. The demons have been using bell-absorbing rocks to freely enter and exit the sky curtain. So that's how it is. Yang Yan didn't understand at all. Lin Muyu, are we still enemies now? Lin Muyu smiled. You worked for the Iha kingdom, so we are naturally enemies. But now that the Iha kingdom is gone, and the Lingnan territory has been recovered, we are no longer enemies. Have you also stepped into the god realm? Yes. Yang Yan was silent for a while. Her charming face showed frustration and loneliness. She said faintly, Lin Muyu, take me away from here. Take me away from here. My life is yours. Yang Yan will be yours from now on. Where's your godhead? Lin Muyu asked. Didn't you form a new godhead? It was taken away by that bastard demon emperor. Yang Yan's godhead was taken away from her in the heaven realm and she became a disabled god. Now that her newly formed godhead was taken away again, it was no wonder she felt such a strong sense of defeat. Lin Muyu walked forward and placed her palm on Yang Yan's shoulder. Her supreme god force surged into Yang Yan's body, unblocking the blockage in her meridians. I'll bring you away from here. But before that, tell me where Tang Xiaoxi is. Tang Xiaoxi? Yang Yan shook her head in shock. I don't know where she is imprisoned. I only know that she is not in the demon's sealing valley. Who else is in the demon's sealing valley? There is also an ultimate god at the first heaven of the god realm, but he destroyed his cultivation a month ago and has become a real cripple. In addition, there is also a high-ranking official of the empire called Min Yulan. He is a marquis. Oh. Take me to Min Yulan. Okay. Chapter 641. In the depths of the Demon Lock Valley, an old man in broken armor was imprisoned under a stone pillar with his hands shackled. He was the Marquis of Prestige, Min Yulan, who had once guarded the northern region and dominated the desert. At this time, Min Yulan was no longer as vigorous as he used to be. His white, frost-like hair hung down to the ground. Min Yulan's cultivation was only at the heaven realm, so the demons could only shackle him. On the side, nearly 100 armor demons were sitting on the grass, and there were 3 high-level demons guarding them. It was enough to show how much the demons valued Min Yulan. In fact, as long as Min Yulan was in the Demon Lock Valley, Min Zhan, Su Ying, and other elders of the Yangwei Corps must serve the demons. Capturing Min Yulan was like capturing the lifeline of the Yangwei Corps. Rustle, rustle, Lin Muyu took Ouyang Yan's arm and flew at a low altitude with her. They landed gently on a cluster of cattail grass. Looking from afar, Ouyang Yan suddenly frowned and said, "There are so many demons guarding, what should we do?" "What are you afraid of?" "Just get rid of them all." "But, once the demons here are alarmed, I'm afraid the Demon Emperor and the Saint Master will soon sense it. And look at that mountain over there, there is something guarding the Demon Lock Valley." Lin Muyu looked in the direction of Ouyang Yan's finger. Sure enough, there was a huge creature above the mountain, hidden in the clouds. It was about hundreds of meters long, and its body was covered with a faint lightning luster. Its scales reflected a frightening luster. It was a giant flying snake that was floating in the air and dozing off. Once it was awakened, everything here would be exposed. Flying snake, Lin Muyu frowned. She opened the Qingquan bag and rummaged through it. In the end, she found a pile of medicine. These were all concocted in the past. There were still 3 bottles of breeze drunk and 1 bottle of the antidote, concentration powder. However, with her and Ouyang Yan's godly state physique, half a bottle should be enough. Therefore, Lin Muyu immediately opened the cap of a bottle of breeze drunk. With a gentle wave of her palm, the supreme divine power in her palm surged. The power of the law of wind was slowly activated, forming a breeze that blew towards the campsite of the armor demons and high-level demons. Lin Muyu opened the cap of the concentrating spirit powder and handed it to Ouyang Yan, saying, "Drink half of it and leave the other half for me." "Yes." Ouyang Yan's character was also the kind of vigorous and resolute kind. She raised her neck and drank half a small bottle of concentrating spirit power, and Lin Muyu took the remaining half bottle and drank it up. As the refreshing breeze intoxication pill dispersed in the wind, the drug gradually took effect. Soon, those armor demons in the distance became sluggish. They all widely opened their scarlet eyes, glaring at each other. They couldn't even utter a word. Clang! Unsheathing the star's sword, Lin Muyu flew back and forth in the group of armor demons at lightning speed without touching the ground. One sword light after another stirred up blood flowers. In the blink of an eye, a group of armor demons and 3 advanced demons were all killed. On the rock behind them, Ouyang Yan widely opened her eyes. She couldn't imagine that such an elegant and handsome young man like Lin Muyu could be so decisive. No wonder people all over the world revere this famous general who ranked second in the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. With 2 soft sounds, the shackles that locked Min Yulan's wrists were cut off by the sharp star's sword. Lin Muyu floated forward and knelt on one knee, supporting Min Yulan who was falling down. Min Yulan was also poisoned by the refreshing breeze intoxication pill. He just raised his head and looked at Lin Muyu's familiar face. Suddenly, Min Yulan's turbid eyes lit up. He remembered who Lin Muyu was. Instantly, he opened his mouth and let out a hoarse cry. Lin Muyu knew what he wanted to say. With a gentle smile, she said, "Marquis, Lin Muyu came 5 years late. You won't blame me, will you?" Min Yulan's face revealed an excited expression and a smile. "Let's go, Marquis. We have to leave the territory of demons tonight. Otherwise, we might not be able to leave tomorrow." Min Yulan nodded slightly. Lin Muyu turned around and carried Min Yulan on her back. Then, she turned to Ouyang Yan and asked, "Do you have enough strength to fly?" Ouyang Yan shook her head desolately. She felt that after Lin Muyu found Min Yulan, a loyal subject of the empire, she might not need her anymore. But who would have thought that Lin Muyu would stretch out an arm and say, "Then do you have the strength to carry me?" Ouyang Yan smiled and said softly, "Yes." Swoosh, a black shadow flew close to the ground in the demon's ceiling valley. Lin Muyu did not dare to increase her strength too much. Otherwise, she would be easily discovered by powerful beings like the Demon King, the Sacred Master, and Qianfeng. Moreover, she could easily alarm the huge flying snake sleeping in the mountains far away. If that big guy was alarmed, then it would be really troublesome. In the night sky, the scene of the demon race soldiers camping out in the open gradually disappeared from sight. Lin Muyu activated her spirit meridian art, trying her best to avoid the sight of the demon race patrols. Finally, after nearly 2 hours of slow flying, they arrived in the distant sky above the earthen city. Following that, she brought Ouyang Yen and Min Yulan straight into the earthen city. Coincidentally, Suing also brought 100 soldiers into the city lord's manor at this time. He exclaimed in shock, "Your Highness, you've arrived so quickly." Ah! When he saw Min Yulan on Lin Muyu's back, Suing trembled all over. Marquis, the effects of the refreshing breeze intoxication dissipated very quickly. Min Yulan recovered some strength and looked up at Suing with a smile. "Old General Su, long time no see." Suing immediately knelt on one knee and said with tears streaming down his face, "The Marquis is still alive." That's great, that's great." At this time, Min Zhan also ran out of the residence and knelt at Min Yulan's feet with tears streaming down his face. He hugged his father. It was an indescribable feeling that this father and son pair were once highly regarded generals of the empire. Now that they had fallen to such a state, it was truly regrettable. After a while, Min Yulan turned around and said, "I heard that the great deacon is now the empire's supreme being and has the title of King Qin. Since your highness you has risked danger to save us, please arrange for our advance and retreat." Suing, Min Zhan, and the other generals also knelt and said in unison, "We will follow your highness's orders." Lin Muyu nodded cheerfully. The security in the Demon Ceiling Valley is very tight. The news of me rescuing the Marquis and Ouyang Yen from the Demon Ceiling Valley will soon spread, so we must make a prompt decision to gather our trusted human army and leave through the crack in the canopy of heaven that I've destroyed. Otherwise, we won't be able to leave by daybreak. Then let's move, Suing said. No, if we leave Earth City now, we will definitely be questioned by the Demon Patrol. Is there a better way? Lin Muyu asked. Yes. Min Zhan's previous cowardice disappeared and he said, "An hour ago, the demons sent someone to inform us that the sky curtain in the south has been destroyed. They ordered me to lead an advance force of 20,000 soldiers to repair the sky curtain." That's great. Lin Muyu clapped her hands and said, "Help the Marquis and Ouyang Yen change into soldiers' clothes. We will leave the demon territory while the sky curtain is being repaired." Yes. Min Zhan was a little puzzled and asked, "Your Highness, was the sky curtain really destroyed by you?" Yes. For a moment, Min Zhan's eyes were filled with awe and shock. In his mind, Lin Muyu had completely changed. The sky curtain in the south had guarded the secret of the demon race for tens of thousands of years without being destroyed. Now, Lin Muyu had created a big hole in it. Lin Muyu's strength had reached an unimaginable level. Moreover, there was news that the Demon King's palace had been destroyed. Needless to say, Lin Muyu must have been the culprit. This time, he had caused quite a stir in the demon race. Not long after, the advance guard in the Earthen City quickly assembled. Out of the 20,000 people, only 500 or so were cavalry, the rest were infantry. No wonder they were completely not a match for Qin Yan's royal army, and still suffered a crushing defeat despite being outnumbered. Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu rode on a skinny horse, looking at the soldiers at the side who were all holding rusty spears, axes and other weapons. She instantly felt extremely sad. This group of humans worked for the demon race, but the demon race seemed to have never seen them as humans, only as a group of enslaved tools of war. The group slowly descended the mountain. Not long after, they encountered a small demon patrol team. A high-ranking demon Chiliarch rode forward and shouted, "Why did the advance force descend the mountain without permission?" Min Zhan hurriedly raised a silver token and said, "Marshal Qianfeng has ordered us to head south to help repair the sky curtain. Please let us pass." "Oh, so it's the marshal's order. Go then." The devilish Kiliarka's lips curled up into a meaningful sneer. Lin Muyu saw this and couldn't help but feel nervous. She walked up to Min Yulan's warhorse and said, Marquis, it doesn't seem that simple. Min Yulan was a smart man. He nodded and said, I can see that. Let's go first and act accordingly. Emin, in the early hours of the morning, the eastern sky was already turning white. Finally, the vanguard army had arrived at the southern border of the Tongtian Gorge. Looking from afar, a huge hole had been poked in the huge sky. Around the hole, the demon army came and went. In addition, there were two huge black shadows flying in the air. They were two giant flying snakes. Flying snakes. They're flying snakes. The advance force soldiers all revealed expressions of fear. The enormous flying snakes were the demon race's weapon, but they were also the human race's nightmare. Many people had seen the battle between the enormous flying snakes and humans. If the magic crystal cannons were the demon race's nightmare, then the enormous flying snakes were the human race's nightmare. Min Zhan's gaze turned cold. He said, Don't panic. Keep advancing. Yes, sir. Not long after, a high-ranking demon wearing the insignia of captaincy rode over. He was one of Qianfeng's generals, Lianxiao. Master Lianxiao. Min Zhan and Su Ying saluted in unison. The demons had created a new military salute for the advance force. Different from the Empire salute, it was a more respectful bow. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.